Yeah. I'm on a different device. Baby. Hopefully this one will last. I ain't used this one in a minute. But baby, when I tell you they done had some bombshells or die. When I say bombshells, I absolutely mean bombshells today. That dang-a-lang Diddy, he needs to be under the jail. His ass needs to be under the jail. And hopefully, hey, Keita, baby, Ike. And I have, shout out to Tisa, because she has that video. Somebody else I saw that had the unedited version. I don't know if it was TMZ got, oh my God. It may be a wrap for him today. Yeah, he had his ass brought to him today. They had delays. She had outbursts crying, reliving the first time he went black on her, you know. And I'm not going to make no excuses for no woman putting her hands on him. But I'm going to say this, boo, because this is the first time I heard them say that she hit him. Yeah, you know, typically I'll be saying everybody keep their hands to themselves. But if you got one good one in there, out of all them ass whoopings you took, I'm going to let you have that. I'm going to let you have that for everyone, every time. For every time you was able to get one in, shout out to you. You hear? And I think today that coercion revealed itself today. The threat of ending her career, blackmail, all of that, it came out today. Y'all ready? And I don't have time to be waiting for a whole bunch of people to come on in here, boo. So I'm finna start. Is that all right? Keita, is that all right? Is that all right? Say what? Is that all right? Get up. Is that all right? Boo, AunTeaFee say, get you one in, boo. Get you one in. Keita say, yes. Let me do this right quick. Baby, let's go. Oh, I'm using it. Is this it? Yeah. I'm using a different device. I ain't never used it. Let me see. Can you see that pretty good? Let's go.
Diddy Combs sex trafficking trial. The jury hearing testimony again this morning from his former girlfriend, Cassie Ventura. She testified yesterday about her relationship with the music mogul and the alleged freak-offs. Joining us now from outside the Diddy trial in Manhattan at the federal courthouse, legal correspondent Kelly Traff. Kelly, I understand the jury is now on the mid-morning break. Fill us in on what has happened so far today.
Good morning to you, Ted. So 3 things that I want to talk about and review with our viewers that took place in court just a short time ago before they went to break. So Cassie Ventura is still on the stand, or was on the stand this morning under direct examination, the continuation of her cross-examination. So 3 big things came out of her testimony this morning. One, and talking about that video at the Intercontinental Hotel in which we see Sean Diddy Combs dragging her on the floor and beating her. The second thing that we'll talk about is then how she went to a friend's house and the police, she went to her house, a friend was there, the friend called the police. I'll talk about that in a moment. And then the third thing is blackmail. So that first thing in regard to the video, she was talking about what took place right after that beating in the Intercontinental Hotel. She got in an Uber, she went back to her apartment, her friend was there, her friend saw that she had some injuries. Cassie also took a selfie selfie of herself. She had sunglasses on, and it showed that she had a busted lip. Her friend called the police. The police came over, but at that time, Cassie was not comfortable telling the police that the person who did this to her was Sean Combs. So the second big thing that just took place in court is this binder of men. Yesterday during court proceedings, we saw a binder of men that participated in these freak-offs in which Cassie Ventura went through that binder and named the men, one of whom was named the Punisher. Today, another binder of men. This one contained 13. Cassie was asked to do the exact same thing. Go through that binder, identify the men, talk about them and their participation in these freak-offs. She also said that it was her job to contact these escorts and to get them to come with them to Ibiza and all the other places that they were traveling to, New York, Turks and Caicos, as well as Los Angeles, California. The third thing that I want to talk about is this blackmail situation in which Cassie Ventura was telling the jurors that she had contacted Sean and asked him to delete these videos of the freak-offs that were on his phone. He said that he did. So that's what she was testifying to, saying that he told her that he did do that. But clearly, those videos, and I talked about this earlier on Julie Grant's show, Ted, those videos we had heard in opening statements, they were going to be played in full for everyone to see that was going to be inside the courtroom. But now only the jurors are going to be able to see the video of those freak-offs. So they're going to have privacy screens on their monitors, so no one else will be able to see these. Obviously, just the jurors will be able to see video of those freak-offs. But some very important testimony today, talking about how Sean Diddy Combs was telling her he was basically going to keep the videos as blackmail in a way, but then told her he would delete them.
Wow. Yeah, it seems to be really progressing the government's case. The videos will be shown. Do we know details? Will they need to be taken out of the courtroom, or are they just going to rely on these privacy monitors so that the jury can see it, so that then other people can at least see the reactions, from the jury and from Cassie? I mean, it makes sense. The state saying that, or the federal government saying she would be victimized again if these videos became public. Do we know any details in terms of how are they going to manage this without the overall goal of re-victimizing Cassie and the other witness?
That's a great question, Ted. So we have not been told that people are going to have to exit the courtroom during that time. The main security measure that they're taking are those privacy screens on the jurors' monitors, which we talked about outside of the presence of the jury this morning before court proceedings began. And the tech people were pretty clear that those privacy monitors are going to be sufficient so that no one else can see them. But yes, the reaction from the jurors is going to be interesting. And they were told in the opening statements that these videos are going to be very disturbing. They're going to be very hard to watch. And as we've just heard the testimony, as she is describing what took place during these freak-offs, you can tell that it's going to be hard for them to watch. I also just want to say really quickly, I believe we have some full screens of some of the testimony that took place, because obviously there's no cameras in federal court. So we're putting up full screens and telling you about some of the things that were said while she was on the stand. You can see that she testified that she fought back early in the relationship when Combs would attack her. She said that she learned that doing this would make it worse for herself. And she also added that Combs sometimes acted surprised and shocked that she would end up fighting back. So that's some of the testimony that we did have today as well. She watched the hotel footage, as I was mentioning. It had no audio on it. Ventura did narrate parts of it from the stand, and she said Combs was insulting her and calling her slurs. So again, soft-spoken today, Cassie, while she's been on the stand. She did talk about, though, how after that hotel assault, texts show that Combs demanding Ventura return to the hotel, and she texted back, "I have a black eye and a fat lip. You are sick to think it's okay to do what you've done." Combs later went to her apartment, banging on the door and yelling. So later on, she did meet up with Sean Combs that night because she had a movie premiere. So she did see Sean Combs shortly after that meeting.
Wow. Just heartbreaking. And having the video along with her testimony has to be so impactful for this jury. And we'll see how is she holding up compared to yesterday? Would you say she's more confident, beat down, or a lot of times day two for a witness can be very difficult?
Well, I think that's what's really going to be difficult for her, Ted, is going to be the cross-examination. It definitely is going to be intense. Yesterday, we did see some tears coming from her as she was describing the freak-offs shortly after she went through that binder of men that she had participated in sexual activities with. So some tears yesterday. Today, she seems to be holding herself better a little bit. Not that she was holding herself badly together yesterday, but very emotional. Her attorney was just this morning talking. This is like a triathlon, and that you anticipate this going in, you're scared, then you get in the water, you get more comfortable. So I think she is more comfortable on the stand this morning, but I think she's going to go all through it again when cross-examination begins later on today.
All right, Kelly Traff, as always. Thank you. Kelly will be with us throughout the day. Here on Court TV, updating us. No cameras in federal court, but we have our team, including Kelly, to fill us in on what's happening in the case against Sean Diddy Combs. Krista Ramey, your thoughts? The binder scenario, two big binders with these different names of all of these escorts that they're bringing around the country. This really is the federal government's case. The other stuff is what is eyebrow raising, but he's not accused of assault, spousal abuse, or sexual assault. He's accused of human trafficking under the RICO statute, and this basically is the case.
Yeah, and I kind of am thinking about this as that maybe Cassie Ventura is really an unindicted co-conspirator, not a willing one, but she's the one that's helping select who these escorts are, and they are moving them across state lines. They're going to, Spain. They're going to LA. So this is absolutely the government's case. This case is not about the domestic violence and the beatings that Cassie Ventura took. That is, a separate matter. Now it's a civil matter that she has brought. I don't think that criminal charges were ever brought really about that specific thing, and the statute of limitations most likely has ran on that. So this is about, all of those acts that amounted to human sex trafficking, and then you've got to get the co-conspirators in to bring in that RICO element. So it can't just be, Sean Combs and Cassie Ventura doing it. They've alleged that it's his business enterprises, it's Sean John, it's his record label that are all, and employees as a part of that are doing this as well. So it's slowly putting these pieces together. Yesterday, I think we heard more about what happened to her, and that is horrific in and of itself, but this is more about the actual meat of the charges.
The defense made a big deal in the opening statement saying that all these horrible things, these videos, the video at the Intercontinental Hotel, at the elevator banks, that's not trafficking. The videos of the freak-offs, that's not trafficking. That's willing adults partaking in an alternative lifestyle. But the level of disgustingness, not only the
wait till y'all see
video,
more of that
video. What
video.
the jurors apparently are going to be seeing adds to it, does it not, Krista? And not saying it's going to be jury nullification, but the government does have that extra in their arsenal, that extra bit of just dramatic horror that you have to believe that they're, at the end of the day, it's going to be a factor in this case, even though, as the defense argues legitimately, it's really not part of the charges.
So I have a different kind of view on that. I think that the evidence of her beating is actually evidence in this case toward the human trafficking coercion element. It's that control that he had over her. So while it's not, so yes, he did it, but why? What was his motives of doing it, and what was the effect on her? And I think that the same is true with those videos of the free box.
Why does she do
those are
like she
evidence
has
of the human trafficking. Those are evidences of things that have happened in places that people were either paid to be there, coerced, or bribed to be there, forced to be there. So you're not really necessarily talking about consensual sex. By the way, a lot of these videos, I think, were filmed without the consent of the people that were in them. So you have elements of the crimes that are reflected in this physical evidence as well that we're looking at and talking about now. They happen to show other things as well, the despicable, disgusting conduct of Sean Combs, right? And, and these freak offs and how he treated women, but they also are evidence of the crimes.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, I didn't really think about that. You're right. She was not in control. The video shows that, and I'm sure the freak off video in these binders with the Punisher, that's disgusting. She was, and she's testifying that she was sick to her stomach, and it would go on for days. It was torture. Let's get a break.
Hold on. Hold on. Let me say this to the sisters and brothers. Hold on. Sisters. Sisters. For the ones who is okay with a little video here, a little video there of the sexual encounters, that could very well come back to haunt you. See, she may have been okay with one, maybe even two, right? So now you got a whole arsenal, a whole cabinet and closet and a secret, full of videos and shit. And all she could say is, at one point, yeah, it was okay. And he took that and just started filming and doing any and everything that he wanted to do without your consent. But you gave him consent one time. So somebody on the jury gonna say, they're not gonna hear one time. They're not gonna hear one time. They're gonna hear you gave consent. Just like she said at first she did it to please him, the freak off. Okay? And then it became more and more in every week, 3 to 4 days and shit. She was screwing more days than she was off. She couldn't work a job. He couldn't produce no music, couldn't do shit for her because of these freak offs. And the minute she started saying, no, I don't want to do that. No, I want to be your freak. I want to freak you. Let me love you down. You know what I'm saying? You can't get your rocks off unless you watching another nigga perform for you. And truth be told, like I said earlier, hell, he wasn't getting off on her. He was getting off on the guy. So listen, effective immediately. Stop doing them videos. Stop. Because the minute something happened and you find out he got some that you didn't know nothing about, and y'all not together no more, and he dangling over your head and shit, then you're going to feel some type of violated. Rightfully so. But unless you got long money, it's going to be hard for you to prove that. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. Oh, I need to get down here to where I've already been, baby. Where I done already seen the glory of what happened in court today. And it was a doozy. Do y'all want to watch that video, the extended version? Here we go. Oh, let me turn it around. Shout out to Tisa Tales. Oh. I can show everything except that drag. See, we didn't see her trying to call for help. We didn't see that. Shout out to Max Boogie for sending this to me. So she did call for help. For the ones who look at him. See, you can see it way back here. I thought that was their room. No, that's him in the hallway, still abusing her, grabbing her phone. Still abusing her back there. So now she's back on the phone again, still trying to call for help. I am glad it's all coming out. Shout out Cassie for standing up and giving you some money in the meantime. I typically wouldn't say that, but shout out to you. And I hope you really are getting some emotional and mental health. Because fucking around with this fool right here. Look at him. He think he owned the place. He ain't even. He don't care. Oh my God. So now he's sitting down waiting for her. Security laughing. Not him, whoever recording.
Damn, them shoes are hella shiny. Look at that.
Ricardo, do you know how long is that podcast going to be posted?
He took her through living hell. And he couldn't just let that be it. He sees she not there, he comes back. He thought she was walking behind him. So for people who were saying she didn't try to leave, she didn't follow behind him. She tried to leave. And then he turned back around and went and got up. Because she didn't want to do that freak out. So the second time he walked down the hall after dragging her. He go and put that stuff down, right? And come back again. This is for the folk who say she didn't try to leave. Here he come back. She ain't nowhere near him. She didn't follow behind him. Right? Baby, it's a wrap. So even if she agreed to do the freak off, whatever happened, happened. She tried to leave. He wouldn't let her. He drags her. He walks down the aisle. This is going to be for the... He can't even walk. See there? Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. I hope he rot in jail. Especially since he, he like bubbles. He'll be right comfortable. He'll be all right. He can have as many freak offs as he wants in prison. So this is the back, another angle from the camera. Oh, I wish it had volume. They had to get housekeeping. Because he want to be Pimp Daddy. So I guess his name there is Pimp Daddy. Prison Daddy. Prison Daddy. I like Prison Daddy. Prison Daddy. Let's get to the next one. I don't think it's nothing else on that one. Oh my God.
superb.
Prison Daddy. I think we did the court TV. Did we do this?
Honestly, no one wants to think about HIV, but there are
Oh, it
things
went
that
down,
everyone can do to help prevent it.
Forget.
And I on some of those takeaways right now as well, as we wait for more updates. All right, folks, we are getting some new updates that I want to bring to you back out live now from Fox Worldwide, continuing our coverage from inside of the courtroom in New York City. Okay, we are learning that there is some breaking news regarding this trial. Cassie has broke down on the stand. She began to sob and cry. So right now, Cassie breaking down on the stand. The court is going to have to take a break. They're trying to take about a 10-minute break. We wanted to bring that to you. It all happened because prosecution has been asking for the last 20 minutes or so a timeline of abuse allegations that Diddy did to Cassie. So I'm going to read out just some of the transcript here for you. And let's go back in time about 20 minutes. Let me do that for you. All right, let's go back here. So the assistant U.S. attorney saying, when did Sean first use violence on you? Ventura says, in New York City, we were in a car with his security and he knocked me around. What did he do? He hit me on the side of the head. I fell to the floor of his Escalade. Assistant U.S. attorney said, in January of 2009, did you attend an event in L.A. with Sean? Ventura says, yes. What happened as you left? I've been speaking to a producer about music. Sean called me a slut and I hit him in the face. I had been drinking.
She got a one. She got a one.
He goes on to say, did you see any injuries? Ventura says, no. And then Ventura says, I was on the floor of the car and he stomped on my face. How long did that last? The government asked. 10 minutes. Then I tried to get away, but Sean's security brought me back. Who? The government asked. Ventura responds, Roger Bonds. What did they tell you? To go to a hotel. They stuck me into the hotel, covered up so no one could see my face. How long were you at the London hotel? The government asks. Ventura says, a week, a little more. An assistant brought me ice cream. What was the assistant's name? Genovese, Ventura replies. Also, the government asked.
Live to stream. Are you a female abuser? Do you put your hand on women? I mean, the feds didn't go after nobody but him. So you one of the ones that's gonna find fault in her? Cause she was trafficked. Is that what you're saying? I need for you to break it down. Breaking down on the stand is breaking news. As if nobody can't guess. I mean, so what you saying though? I mean, so what was your point in even saying that? I'm trying to get an understanding of where you coming from. I mean, right? I mean, I'm trying to even understand why you would even post that. What's your point? Hey, big question. What's your point? What you saying? If that was your mama or sister, somebody, a female that you love, you wouldn't expect that, especially when you got people out here in the world thinking she enjoyed it, she wanted it because she didn't leave. I mean, so what you mean? I'm trying to understand. My point is, it's not breaking news. It is if they say it's breaking news. To them, it is. To them, it is. I mean, I'm just saying. They break news for less. They break news all the time in Memphis for somebody getting killed. Is that breaking news? Yeah, I'm just trying to see where you at. You know, did you think it was breaking news that a dude would want his girl for somebody to piss in his girlfriend's mouth? That's okay. Oh, okay. You wouldn't expect anything else, but it still can be breaking news, right? Because I find that they make breaking news about death all the time. You know, what they call breaking news to some may not be breaking news to other, but this is a very good point because people are finding a fault in the victim. And her breaking down why the prosecution keeps saying she's strong. She's strong. And she knew what she was doing. She could have left. And then recounting, reliving, that trauma. See, this is what's problem. We the people, we don't have empathy no more. See. We can't put ourselves in somebody's position. We just want to judge hard. So I thought you was judging hard. I thought you was judging hard, I was just trying to see where you was coming from because you came off kind of strong to me. But carry on.
Did you feel that you could leave the London hotel? Ventura says, no, I understood his capability.
No, they all ain't guilty.
Guns, the threats he made. Then
what's she guilty of? What's she guilty of? They ain't all guilty. That's a lie. That's a lie. What is she guilty of? Why ain't no charges been brought up on her? No, she ain't guilty. She guilty of what? Loving a man who didn't love her, loving a man who in his mind decided to try to pimp her out and traffic her out. And it took her years to realize that she was a victim, not just because of the abuse. Yeah, she had that Stockholm syndrome. She probably didn't realize it. So what you mean she a victim? Go ahead. Okay. So you look past facts and just talking. Okay, I get it.
You're taken to the hotel after the assault. Ventura says no. The assistant U.S. attorney then says, "Did you know if the government?" Assistant U.S. attorney said, "In January of 2009, did you attend an event in L.A. with Sean?" Ventura says, "Yes. What happened as you left?" I've been speaking to a producer about music. Sean called me a slut, and I hit him in the face. I had been drinking.
Hey, pressure.
Then it goes on to say, "Did you see any injuries?" Ventura says, "No." And then
sir, I'm not
says,
gonna listen here.
The car and he
listen here, live to stream. Go debate yourself on your page. I ain't finna, sir. I'm not finna do this with you. So you don't have to ask me nothing else. Okay? Okay. Thank you.
on my face. How long did that last? The government asked. 10 minutes. Then I tried to get away, but Sean's security brought me back. Who? The government asked. Ventura responds, Roger Bonds.
Hey, naturally,
What did they tell you? To go to a hotel. They stuck me into the hotel, covered up so no one could see my face. How long were you at the London hotel? The government asks. Ventura says a week, a little more. An assistant brought me ice cream. What was the assistant's name? Genovese, Ventura replies. Also, the government asking, did you feel that you could leave the London hotel? Ventura says, no, I understood his capability, his access to guns, the threats he made. Then were you taken to the hotel after the assault? Ventura says, no. The assistant U.S. attorney then says, did you know if this assault incident was reported? Ventura says, I know there was a blind item on the internet without our names. Who raised the blind item to you? Ventura responds, my mother. Defense objects, and the judge overrules. Assistant U.S. attorney then says, when you went to a party with your girlfriends, what happened? Ventura says, I saw executives from BET. Then I heard that Sean was there. Assistant U.S. attorney says, what did you do? I left, Ventura says. I ran out as fast as I could. The assistant U.S. attorney says, why? Ventura says, I thought he was still angry at me. So again, we are bringing you just some of these major updates right now on the Diddy trial and really a timeline of alleged abuse here that just moments ago, Cassie was talking about.
When they know better, they are supposed to do better.
Then says, did he come to the hotel where you were staying? Ventura says, yes, he beat me up and called me names. My face was bruised. The government asked, this photo, who's in it? Ventura says, Kid Cudi, we dated back in 2011. Did Sean find out? Yes, in my phone. Ventura says, Sean went through my phone during a freak out. He found an email. Government says about what? Taking my toiletry bag to Kid Cudi's the next day. Sean put a wine opener in his hand and threatened me. I called Kid Cudi on a burner phone. Where did you go? The government asks. Ventura says to Kid Cudi, freak out. He found. Did he come to the hotel where you were staying? Ventura says, yes, he beat me up and called me names. My face was bruised. The government asked, this photo, who's in it? Ventura says, Kid Cudi, we dated back in 2011. Did Sean find out? Yes, in my phone. Ventura says, Sean went through my phone during a freak out. He found an email. Government says about what? Taking my toiletry bag to Kid Cudi's the next day. Sean put a wine opener in his hand and threatened me. I called Kid Cudi on a burner phone. Where did you go? The government asks. Ventura says to Kid Cudi's house. Then I talked with another associate, one of Sean's assistants. Then what? I went to the house Sean was staying at. He told me he would release videos and hurt Kid Cudi and I. What videos? Freak out videos of me, she responded. Ventura then said, Sean kicked me in the back. I got a bruise. Where'd you go? To my hotel, still holding the burner phone, Cassie says. The room was torn up. Someone had peed all over the floor, pooped in the toilet, and didn't flush it. It was gross. This was just before Christmas. Ventura says, I sent an email to my mom and Diddy's associate from my flight to Boston and Connecticut. Government asked, what did you write? Ventura says that Sean said he would release the tape of me on Christmas and he'd hurt Kid Cudi and I. Then he'd said he would be out of the country then. Assistant U.S. attorney said, what are these photographs? Ventura says, my mother took there in Connecticut of the bruises on my back. Were you completely honest with your mother about the abuse? Ventura says, no, I said this was the first time. Assistant U.S. attorney says, did you tell her about the freak-offs? No, Ventura says. And then Ventura started to break down in court. Is it possible to take a break, she asked. Yes, let's take a break, the judge did say. So again, we are following it for you right here worldwide on live now from Fox of the abuse timeline, the alleged abuse timeline that was just discussed about 30 minutes ago. And it really had this questioning format, this back and forth from the government to Cassie, and then it just became too emotional for her, and she did break down there on the stand. So they're taking a break right now. We'll be back with much more updates when we get them.
Emergencies can strike at any time. That's why it's crucial to be prepared. Create a
You're on live now from Fox again, bringing you some of the biggest takeaways from the Diddy trial. Day 3, Cassie Ventura still on the stand here. There was a noticeable longer lunch break today. That's because the court was discussing some procedural and evidentiary issues the entire time. And these issues included the kind of contact that alleged victims can have with their personal lawyers while testifying, and the timelines of the defense showing exhibits that they'd like to use to the government. To give the parties time to get lunch and for the government to get its binders ready, we're now again, we're in that delay, and that's some of the reason. I know many of you are wondering, okay, why are we still just showcasing some stuff that happened in the morning session. We are also learning that jurors have returned from the break as well. And again, the prosecutor says videos of Cassie involved in sexual experiences will not be shown during a direct examination, but it's unknown whether the defense will show some. Cassie testified in the morning session that she complained to Combs once about the sexual things he made her do and the abuse that came with it by telling him, "You treat me like Ike." The comment was a reference to Ike Turner, who was described in singer Tina Turner's autobiography and a film adapted off of its abusive lover. Prosecutor Emily Johnson told the judge she expects to finish her questioning of Cassie before the end of the day, leaving some time for defense lawyers to begin their cross-examination. A lawyer for Combs told the judge the prosecution's questioning of Cassie had gone differently than we expected. She didn't elaborate except to say the defense will have to adjust their defense strategy as a result. Previously, the defense has indicated its plans to show the sexual interactions were consensual behavior between adults who engaged in the swingers lifestyle.
Okay, yeah, you and what's your name, Alex? You can go hang out with the old boy up there. Y'all probably the same people, but if your mama's sister, your kids, your little girl get involved in something like that, I want you to remember what you said about Cassie, because that same rule is going to apply to you too. I don't troll over here. You didn't read my rules before you fell up in here. I'm glad you told me you're a troll. Y'all say bye to the troll. I don't troll over here. We don't troll. Bye. Y'all say bye to Alex and Live to Stream. Bye. 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 I told you not. I did not. I knew you was gonna come back. You waited just as good as that Alex is. So that means that that's probably you too with multiple pages. Bye. Y'all wave bye to Alex and I Live the Stream. Get your butts up out of here. Let's go.
Throughout her testimony,
I knew
Cassie
he
has
was gonna
insisted
take the
she
bait.
never wanted to have sexual experiences with other people, but did it to please the man she loved and out of fear of him.
I knew that. Talk about predictable.
We also learned earlier, attending a film festival in 2013, Cassie beamed as she posed for photographers, but after getting into a fight with Combs, away from the glitz and glamour, she said she didn't have a place to stay.
Behind me, you see the felony throw herself in front of a car or to end her life in some way, and that he stopped her and he saved her. And she said that basically that what this was all about for her was her unloading all of this baggage that she was still carrying.
Let me say this with my good eye. Let me say this so you can hear me well. Any man who thinks that this is okay, easy in, easy out, your mindset is like that because you are an abuser. You're a narcissist and you think like a narcissist. And you have these same type of doo-doo Diddy ass mindset. ways. So as far as I'm concerned, when I see people like the Overseer and Alex and all that stupid shit, trolling or not, I think even as a troll and in real life, you are a doo-doo Diddy. And you abuse women, and you got mental issues, and you was probably touched as a kid, just like Diddy. To go ride that horse. Now, how you like that?
From all of these years of alleged abuse, physical, emotional, and
hit the like
a lot
button.
of physical things
Support the
that may still be
platform.
occurring for her. And it was very traumatic. She broke down crying, talking about the sexual assault.
You
Up
probably
until that
seen
point,
your
she
daddy
kept her
beat the hell
composure,
out your
even though you
mama.
could tell that it was very difficult for her to say this and to speak her truth in open court like that. And then one of the other big revelations that came out from today was that everyone's crying, talking about the sexual assault. Up until that point, she'd kept her composure, even though you could tell that it was very difficult for her to say this and to speak her truth in open court like that. And then one of the other big revelations that came out from today was that everyone's remembers that settlement that was done in 24 hours between Cassie's attorney, Douglas Wigdor, and this was in November of 2023 when she filed the civil suit. It was settled within 24 hours. She says apparently it was for $20 million for her not to publish a book that she had been starting to write. So that was confirmed, the amount. There was a lot of talk about the speculation of how much she received in order to, in order to settle that suit. The amount was $20 million. So that's the latest here from the federal courthouse. I'm Lisa Evers. Please follow us, Fox 5 NY YouTube. Please for me at Lisa Evers on Instagram and X, Lisa Evers Live on TikTok. And
Okay,
we'll
Lisa.
be back again soon with you with more updates. But very eventful day.
Thank you, Lisa. Let's get to the next one. Thank you, Lisa. Yeah, anybody who justify Diddy's actions or find fault in a lady, yeah, you are conditioned. Yeah. Before I go there, I thought this was
Savor the
good
sweeter
too.
things in life with Culver's new concrete mixers and lemon ice coolers made with fruity Skittles popped.
So it was day 2 of testimony in the Sean Diddy Combs sex trafficking trial. His ex-girlfriend, Cassie Ventura, took the stand with some really disturbing testimony. Sonny, you were back in the courtroom yesterday. Tell us what happened.
Yeah, it was very emotional testimony. She's due to give birth June 1st, and so she was very pregnant.
Who's is it?
It's her. She's married. She has 3 children. Her husband was actually in the courtroom listening to this very disturbing testimony. I was seated right behind her husband, and you could see his hands were sort of full. And so she was very pregnant.
Whose baby is it?
It's her. She's married.
George
She has
is
3
crazy.
children. Her husband was actually in the courtroom listening to this very
George
disturbing
crazy.
testimony. I was seated right behind her husband, and you could see his hands were sort of balled up, and he was trying to contain himself.
Yeah.
To hear what happened to his wife. So she described about 10 years of emotional, physical, and sexual abuse. And her participation in what they called sessions during a freak off, which would be sex with an escort. And what she also described is that she met him when she was 19 and he was 37.
So young.
So we're talking about a
Wow.
huge
Talking about the
age
grooming.
difference. And a power differential. And I will also say that she said several times that she didn't want to do it. But what I think the jury...
She didn't want to do what?
She didn't want to engage in sex with these escorts. But he introduced this to her when she was about 20 years old. Within 6 months to a year of dating, he told her that his fantasy was voyeurism. He wanted to see this happen. And she explained that she did it for 10 years because when you love someone, you want to make them happy and you don't want to make them angry. And so she actually arranged for the
It's funny how
escort.
people have definitions of love.
Yeah. So she arranged for the escort. She arranged for their travel. She paid for the deposits for the escorts. She purchased clothing from sex stores. She purchased baby oil. She took drugs. In text messages, she said, "I want to freak off so badly. And she explains that she never explicitly said
Bye.
no. Now, what I
Bye.
saw as a former sex crimes prosecutor is classic
Bye.
victim, survivor, sexual grooming, right? He started pushing her
Trauma
boundaries
bonded.
and trauma bonded. But in watching the jury, I also saw some of the jurors just not understanding how she didn't just leave. And so I
Oh,
think
good.
that in order for the
Yeah,
prosecution
teach your son better.
Prove this
I was
case,
saying
and
bye
it's
to
a heavily
overseer.
male jury. There are 12 men
Bye.
and about 8 women. There are 6 alternates. I think they're going to have an expert describe and explain that this is what
They're gonna need to have an expert. That's the reason why I played this one, because you're gonna need to have an
She
expert
purchased baby oil. She took drugs. In text messages, she said,
To
I
explain.
want to freak off so badly. And she explains that she never explicitly said no. Now, what I
Okay.
saw as a former sex crimes prosecutor is classic victim, survivor, sexual grooming. Right? He started pushing her boundaries and trauma bonded. But
trauma
in
bonded.
watching the jury, I also saw some of the jurors just not understanding how she didn't just leave. And so I think that in order for the prosecution to prove this case, and it's a heavily male jury, there are 12 men and about 8 women. There are 6 alternates. I think they're going to have an expert describe and explain
I
that
totally
this is
agree.
what happens in this kind of relationship.
Because people don't get
I
it.
saw
They don't
clear as day.
understand it.
I don't think the average person would see that.
Well, Sonny, wouldn't you say, as someone saying, because I love you, like a lot of that is kind of like the Stockholm syndrome
Yes,
of what she was going through at such a young age. But one question that kind of came to mind is, I know that one of the reasons someone like her would not come forward is he filmed these, in a variety of places. And what bigger threat do you have when you've been violated and assaulted, or non-consensually participating in things called freak-offs, when you say, I have the video, I could release the video.
He filmed.
Yeah, but that would have hurt him too.
No, he's not. He's watching.
He's watching.
She's in the videos, and there's some, you can't talk about it, but there's some despicable things coming out in court that were done to her and done with her.
Yeah.
And I think that my question, Sonny, is, will the jurors see any of these videos? Because I think videos, just like the abuse video that was allowed to be shown, when you see this, you can let people gauge for themselves. Will the jurors see these videos?
There was argument after the jury left because there are some news outlets that wanted access to those videos. And so that was denied because they would be re-victimized if God forbid, that got leaked out to the
I
public.
talk about it all the time.
I will say that the jurors and the attorneys will get to see those videos, and that's significant.
I've got to say, one of the things that is horrifying to me, as it was with Harvey Weinstein, as it was with O.J. Simpson, as it's just been with other cases, is how many people it takes enabling this man for him to do this for decades.
There were many.
And so, you hear
I
about
heard
how
what?
this was
It be
happening
money.
in
No,
hotels
hear what?
Since the 90s.
And
over 10 years.
And I think it's got to be a wake up.
What you asking me? Did I hear? At least not while she's pregnant. She's had enough on her plate. What did I miss? What you talking about? Oh no, about re-victimizing her. Oh yeah, no. Yeah, I'm not big on that re-victimization stuff.
The abuse video that was allowed to be shown. When you see this, you can let people gauge for themselves. Will the jurors see these videos?
There was argument after the jury left because there are some news outlets that wanted access to those videos, and so that was denied because they would be re-victimized if God forbid that got leaked out to the public. I will say that the jurors and the attorneys will get to see those videos, and that's
I've got to say, one of the things that is horrifying to me, as it was with Harvey Weinstein, as it was with O.J. Simpson, as it's just been with other cases, is how many people it takes enabling this man for him to do this for decades.
There were many.
And so, you hear about how this was happening in hotels.
It's been on since the 90s.
Yeah, Barbara.
Over 10 years.
And I think it's got to be a wake up call for us as an American culture that when we see something, we say something, that we can't because somebody's powerful, because they're rich, because they're famous, because they're scary, be silent because of the silence of so many people who knew something and suspected something. This woman and others were put through hell for 10 years. And I'm gonna say that I remember many years ago, maybe like 20 years ago, I was in the Florida Keys staying at a hotel, and I heard the woman in the room next to me being beaten up. And I wanted to call the police, and my ex told me not to get involved. And it still haunts me today. And so I have made a promise to myself, and I urge others to do it, just as we're hearing about Cassidy's testimony, that if we suspect something, if we hear something, we've got to talk.
We have nothing to lose. They don't know who it is.
You and I were talking about this last night because I was following just the transcripts. I wasn't there. And I was starting to, as a layperson, feel like, oh gosh, she's not going to be able to convince the jury that this wasn't consensual and she wasn't participating. But I'm reminded that victims of domestic violence, it usually takes them 7 attempts before they even get away from their abuser. And 75% of domestic violence related homicides happen upon separation, meaning the time that you try to leave is the most dangerous time for you.
Do you remember that video we all saw of the
That was
hotel?
her leaving a violent trying.
She was trying to leave, but she went back to him after that hotel incident. And so you're absolutely right. And to Anna, your point, there has been testimony that his assistants, his security guards, people that worked for him brought drugs to Cassie, brought baby oil, brought lubricant, brought money. So someone certainly in his circle.
I assure you. I mean, this happened in a lot of hotels. This wasn't just this one hotel in the video we saw.
About 15 hotels.
Okay, staying in a hotel. I remember I told you this at the time. There was a hotel worker who told me that they would stay there, and that they all suspected horrible things were going on in that room. So I'm sure this happened in many places, many cities, many years.
She outlined,
and people were very silent.
She outlined LA, New York, Atlanta.
I mean, I hear what you're saying, Barbara, but I don't know nothing like that. I have never experienced anybody ever want to piss in my mouth or shit on me. No, that's way satanic to me, because I don't understand how that even comes up in your mind, your way of thinking, your way of being. Why would you see pleasure in shitting and pissing in somebody's mouth? No, and it may have been around a long time. I'm glad I have never been introduced to it. No, I don't interact with them type folk. They better never do that shit in front of me.
Why you have places like the Retreat, which I like that you work for. Because women who are in that abusive situation need to go somewhere where the guy does not know where they are and get all the help that they can. These places they're safe.
Yeah, because this time I think of Solomon and Gomorrah, and I still, that type stuff still wouldn't have crossed my mind. Even in biblical times, that sleeping with whoever and all that type of just lollygagging and free for all, but shitting and pissing, nah, never crossed my mind. I'm just being honest.
And you can stay up on
Thank
news,
God.
keep up on news about this trial with 2020 and ABC's audio podcast, Bad Rap, the Case Against Diddy, wherever you get your podcast.
So we ran out of time during that first segment when we were talking about the Diddy trial, but I think it's really important for people to remember that you're innocent until proven guilty. So Sean Diddy Combs has pleaded not guilty to all charges and has denied all sexual assault allegations.
This is Pod 5,
Yeah,
the first fully immersive sleep system.
He also said that he wasn't putting hands and feet and toes on her too until the video came out. Right? That's what he said. He said he wasn't doing nothing to her, that it was all in her head, and there was, no evidence of it until the video pops up and pops out. And then he said, now for all these folk trying to act like ain't nothing wrong with doo-doo ass Diddy, you know, pissy pimp Diddy. Yeah, he said he was disgusting. Ain't that what he said? Do we need to go back to that video for folk who done forgot? Yeah, where he pretty much said, yes, he did. He did all of that. He's disgusting. Something is wrong with me. I need to call on the name of Jesus. Now he reading the Bible. He wasn't even reading the Bible after he confessed to a lot of trifling shit. Right? He didn't say, oh, I'm gonna get in this word. I need the Lord. I need to get rebaptized. Wash me clean as snow. He didn't say that. He didn't start saying that until his ass was in that jail for 8 months. Now he needs the Lord. After they wouldn't let him out, after they say keep your 500 million or 50 million, however many million it was, that they said, no, nigga, we got you and we ain't gonna let you go because you think you God. You picking up that Bible now because you realizing that you ain't God and you ain't going nowhere. Now, you want to call on the name of Jesus. Okay, you say so. He a sociopath, absolutely. I hope Cassie ready for his cross-examination. Yeah, I understand that too. I understand that. I think even before the cross-examination, she has said some things that a lot of people would not have wanted to get up there and say. She hasn't made herself innocent at all. She hadn't said, you know, he just forced me. She didn't. So I think that she know they coming, but her truth is her truth. And that video that I showed earlier, the other part of that hotel where security had to come, you know, it sounds like to me, both of their stories was lining up to what we hadn't even seen yet. The security guy who came up there at that hotel, you know, so yeah, some of the cross-examination, it ain't gonna matter. You can't say she didn't try to get away. Hell, every time he walked down that hall after he done came and drug her, she didn't follow behind him. She was trying to go. She was trying to go. In his arrogance, he kept coming back down that hall. He kept coming back, trying to force her to come back, trying to manipulate her. I didn't have to hear what he was saying and know that he was threatening her and trying to dangle something over her head. You know, I'm going to give me my key, I'm going to show everybody, you know, that's what all that was. After you done beat her and drug her, and she's saying, I still don't want you pissing. Not only did he piss in my mouth, you did too. Y'all had a piss off at my expense. Yeah, no, that cross-examination, I hope he ready for it too, if he take his ass up on that stand. I want him to go up on the stand now, Big Pressure. I want him to take his pimp, doodoo ass up on that. Lord, let me go to the next one. Woo! Let me go to the next one. I didn't see this one. I'm trying to get to what I already seen that I know.
The judge, jury, Combs' support In the gallery, and members of the media are seeing physical evidence of Combs' alleged criminal enterprise. I'm going through the surveillance video that has been pivotal to this entire saga and discussing new details about Combs' finances and travel with celebrity criminal defense attorney Bradford Cohen. We're on the case presented by Law and Crime. I'm Chris Stewart. In November 2023, Cassandra Ventura, better known as Cassie, filed an explosive lawsuit against her ex-boyfriend, Sean Diddy Combs. She had been in a relationship with Combs for a decade. She made bombshell accusations against Combs, alleging that he not only
his arrogance was so
forced her to participate in group sex performances, sometimes called freak-offs. While he has admitted no wrongdoing, Combs settled the lawsuit the very next day. Since then, we've seen raids by Homeland Security agents at Combs' homes on both coasts, the leak of surveillance video that strongly backed up Cassie's claims, a federal indictment, and Combs' arrest. And that really wasn't that long ago. Combs has been locked up in New York since his arrest in September. It seems that he wanted to get to trial as quickly as possible, and here we are with a trial underway at the federal courthouse. After opening statements, the government introduced the now infamous surveillance video. It shows Combs running down a hotel hallway in nothing but a white towel, chasing after Cassie and eventually assaulting her. The prosecution alleges that she was trying to escape from one of these freak-offs, and allegedly this happened at the Intercontinental Hotel in Los Angeles in 2016. Someone leaked that video to CNN, and it was seen by millions of people.
They didn't leak it out.
In his indictment that Combs tried to bribe the security guard who responded to a disturbance on the 6th floor. Cassie says what you're watching in that video is her trying to escape one of those freak-offs and being punished by Combs for it, and she says that he intended to drag her back into the hotel room.
Why are women everywhere choosing Abby X, the new tummy tuck alternative?
I didn't empty my pee bag.
Combs' defense has maintained that while this was incredibly disturbing to watch and it is unacceptable evidence of a domestic violence episode, it is not evidence of sex trafficking. Here at Law and Crime, we got our hands on the video files that were shown to the jury, which includes the surveillance video CNN received and later handed over to the government, and a video that the security guard recorded later on his cell phone to show his wife. This incident happened just after 11 a.m. on March 5th, 2016, and I want to take you through it. Now, I will tell you, we have chosen to freeze the video at the most violent parts. So at the beginning of the video, you can see a woman, later identified as Cassie, leaving a hotel room at the end of a hotel hallway. She's wearing jeans and a black hoodie, and she's barefoot. She comes around the corner to the empty area by the elevators. She presses the call button and puts on her shoes. At the same time, Combs has come out of the hotel room and is running down the hallway wearing nothing but a white towel and striped socks. He comes around the corner and grabs Cassie by the hood, slamming her to the ground. While she's down, he smacks her again. He walks over and picks up her small travel bag and purse. As he walks by, he kicks her. The video then shows Combs starting to drag her. At one point, Cassie can be seen cowering near the door to the lobby area. She gets up and picks up a couple of things that have fallen out of her bag, then goes over to the courtesy phone on the wall. Combs is headed back to the hotel room when he realizes Cassie isn't behind him. She's picked up the phone. When he comes back around the corner, obviously upset, there's a terrifying moment when he advances on her, backing her into a small seating area. He then sits in one of the chairs out of the frame of the security camera, but you can still see him in a large mirror on the other wall. Combs is agitated. He picks up what appears to be a vase and he throws it in Cassie's direction. Before we get back to this story, I want to turn to a Law and Crime legal alert. If you received a Depo-Provera birth control shot and were later diagnosed with either a brain or a spinal tumor called meningioma, you may be eligible for a lawsuit. Morgan & Morgan is investigating claims that patients were not properly warned about this risk. It's free to scattered around the elevator area. Cassie picks up the courtesy phone again and appears to be crying. When Combs or go to for the courtesy phone again, it appears to be crying. When Combs advances on her again, she holds up .com/LCDEPO to see if you qualify. Photos entered into the court record show broken pieces of it scattered around the elevator area. Cassie picks up the courtesy phone again and appears to be crying. When Combs advances on her again, she holds up her hand to shield herself. The security guard, who later took video of the surveillance on his cell phone, is seen getting off of the elevator. His name is Israel Flores. He was called as the prosecution's very first witness this week. An email that he sent to upper management explaining what happened was also entered into the record. Flores explains in the email that there was a distress call on the 6th floor, and he saw a man walking back and forth in front of the security camera in a towel, so he went to check it out. He reported that Combs told him Cassie's name was Cece. This is what the email says, quote, I saw the damage that had been done and I began to diffuse the situation by advising Mr. Combs to understand his status and the safety and concerns for our guest. He began yelling at Miss Cece, and I advised both of them to separate from each other, that it wasn't convenient for both of them to continue like this, especially in the hallway and in a towel. In the video, the guard speaks calmly with Combs, who is still sitting down. At one point, Flores is laughing and smiling as they chat. He and Combs then walk back toward the hotel room. Cassie has walked out of range of this camera down the hallway the other way. Flores and Combs talked in the hall for a minute before Combs apparently noticed that Cassie was down the hall and reportedly raised his voice. Flores says he told Combs that he had to quiet down because of other guests. Cassie follows them into the hotel room.
So he's still screaming and hollering while the man's standing there. After he done sit there and laugh with him.
An email that he sent to upper management explaining what happened was also entered into the record. Flores explains in the email that there was a distress call on the 6th floor, and he saw a man walking back and forth in front of the security camera in a towel, so he went to check it out. He reported that Combs told him Cassie's name was Cece. This is what the email says, quote, I saw the damage that had been done and I began to diffuse the situation by advising Mr. Combs to understand his status and the safety and concerns for our guest. He began yelling at Miss Cece, and I advised both of them to separate from each other, that it wasn't convenient for both of them to continue like this, especially in the hallway and in a towel. In the video, the guard speaks calmly with Combs, who is still sitting down. At one point, Flores is laughing and smiling as they chat. He and Combs then walk back toward the hotel room. Cassie has walked out of range of this camera down the hallway the other way. Flores and Combs talked in the hall for a minute before Combs apparently noticed that Cassie was down the hall and reportedly raised his voice. Flores says he told Combs that he had to quiet down because of other guests. Cassie follows them into the hotel room and comes out less than a minute later with her bags. She left and no one tried to stop her. A minute after that, the security guard leaves. Then Combs walks out, still in the towel, and walks around talking on the phone before the video ends. According to Flores' email to management and his testimony on the stand, he saw Cassie in the lobby and told her that he didn't want Combs to see her. He took her to the valet area and went to get the manager on duty, referred to as an MOD. But when they went back to the valet area, Cassie was gone. The manager and Flores then went back up to Combs' room to let him know the charges for the damage would be charged to his room. Then this happened according to the email. When Mr. Combs came out, he was about to start yelling, still in his towel, but MOD a day, and I stopped him before he did and advised him that we were not there to make it bigger than it already was. He saw MOD a day holding his phone and automatically assumed he was being recorded. So he grabbed his hand and told him to back off. He was then told no one was recording him. When the man threatened to call LAPD if Combs didn't calm down, Combs reportedly said, quote, it's just that I don't want to lose anything and I can lose it all. An interesting note from Flores' email that
you should have thought about that before you start trying to be a damn pimp
at the hotel.
And Ike.
Sean Diddy video ends. According to Flores' email to management and his testimony on the stand, he saw Cassie in the lobby and told her that he didn't want Combs to see her. He took her to the valet area and went to get the manager on duty, referred to as an MOD. But when they went back to the valet area, Cassie was gone. The manager and Flores then went back up to Combs' room to let him know the charges for the damage would be charged to his room. Then this happened according to the email. When Mr. Combs came out, he was about to start yelling, smiling, still in his towel, but MOD a day, and I stopped him before he did and advised him that we were not there to make it bigger than it already was. He saw MOD a day holding his phone and automatically assumed he was being recorded. So he grabbed his hand and told him to back off. He was then told no one was recording him. When the man threatened to call LAPD if Combs didn't calm down, Combs reportedly said, quote, "It's just that I don't want to lose anything and I can lose it all." An interesting note from Flores' email that we noticed was that he said that there would be extra patrols at the hotel until Sean Diddy Combs checked out, meaning Diddy stayed at this hotel, continued to stay at the hotel, even after this incident in the hallway caught on surveillance video with Cassie. But this isn't the only evidence entered into the record. Documentation shows a list of evidence collected in the months leading up to trial. For example, on the day of the Homeland Security raids, Combs was at the Miami Opa-locka airport getting ready to leave on a pre-planned trip. At that time, agents seized a cell phone from Combs' person, 2 cell phones from Christina Corum's person. Remember, she's considered Combs' right-hand woman, and she's even been compared to Ghislaine Maxwell, Jeffrey Epstein's infamous madam. 1 cell phone from Corum's suitcase, which was used by Combs. The government had experts comb through these electronics. Excerpts of those extractions are listed out by evidence number. When agents were searching Combs' home in Los Angeles and Miami, they found even more cell phones. In LA, 2 cell phones from desk drawers and offices, a cell phone from a bedside table in the master bedroom, and in Miami, 3 different cell phones stored inside black Balenciaga boots in the master bedroom and its closets. Then, when Combs was arrested at the Park Hyatt Hotel in New York City, more cell phones were seized from Combs and Corum. The documents also list extractions done on the phones of people connected to Combs. Another evidence list shows that financial records were requested from multiple financial institutions, including American Express, JP Morgan Chase, and Citibank, as well as PayPal, Venmo, and Zelle. The government exhibits also include lots of information about Combs' travel, with records from just about every airline you can think of: Alaska Airlines, JetBlue, Delta, Southwest, even Spirit. So how do these records help bolster the prosecution's case that Combs was part of a larger criminal enterprise? Join us now to talk more about these new pieces of evidence and what we've heard from what's happening in the courtroom thus far as criminal defense.
Today was a big L for Diddy.
Crime. Thanks for being here. From the documents that have been...
Oh, he lost today, didn't he?
You've probably heard about Boxable's flagship product, the Casita.
But always great to have you on Law and Crime. Thanks for being here. From the documents that have been released today, we have also the video. It seems like a longer video of that incident that happened in the hotel in California. What could prosecutors be trying to prove by releasing these new pieces of evidence?
So, when we say new, it's probably new in terms of introducing them, but the defense already knows about them. I don't think this is something that's like a bombshell or a smoking gun. What happens generally with these cases, if you see any of these sex trafficking cases or RICO cases, it's very dependent on the paperwork to kind of put everything together in context. So the Zelle payments, the bank payments, the financials, they want to show that money was flowing from Sean Combs' accounts or accounts that he ran into either some sort of prostitution ring or a prostitute themselves, or to Cassie, and then Cassie would then pay for either flights, hotels, or the prostitutes personally. So she was kind of the go-between, allegedly, between the prostitutes and Sean Combs, and they have to show this in order to say, hey, jury, she's not a co-defendant. She was someone who was getting these things from Sean Combs and then passing them on to the prostitutes. So you're looking at phone records, you're looking at flight records, you're looking at texts, and financials and things of that nature that would bring it all together and kind of bolster the testimony of Cassie. Because if you look at her testimony, people are going to be like, hey, you were with him for 7 years. You knew what was going on. You kind of were involved in all this. You were paying these prostitutes. You were booking their flights. You were booking their hotels. It looks like you enjoyed what was going on. And the prosecution wants to say she did not enjoy it. You know, this was part of her job, and she was, you know, forced to do it.
It was part of her job. So this reminds me of when pimps have their main girl or the number one who will kind of groom some other people, make arrangements, get hotels, you know, and then it sometimes will beat the new recruits, you know, because that's her job. So the mind has been conditioned to accept this. And at some point, I don't know, I would assume it's like, how do I escape this? How do I get out? When I try to leave, he send his goons to come kick. It's like it's a never-ending nightmare. So yeah, it looks like she's involved. But that's her job. And if she don't do it, what's gonna happen? She don't even have the rights to her own body. So if she don't do what he say, what's gonna happen? What is the pimp gonna do? He gonna beat her, threaten to kill her, pull a gun, come kick in doors, have a temper tantrum, all of that type of stuff. Pay off security, pay for repairs in the hotel, but he coming to get his number one. Yeah, so this is crazy.
Coerced to do it. That's where they're coming from. And the defense obviously is going to say the same thing that I'm saying, that I think that it makes her look like a co-defendant.
But also, if you're the defense, could you look at this and say he's Sean Combs, he's a business mogul, of course he's going to have like all these cell phones, frequent flyer accounts, and you can just dismiss the numbers as what it was business?
The key here, the many cell phones and things of that nature, it's going to depend on what's on those cell phones, right? So if he had 7 cell phones and it's all business discussions and things of that nature, it's not that big of a deal. If there were discussions with prostitutes and things like that, which I think that's where they're going with it, and they're going to say, oh, this one phone, even though it was in Sean Combs' name, it was Cassie's phone. This phone belonged to, you know, his house manager. This phone belonged to someone else who made the travel arrangements. That's most likely what they're going to do. And
why
again,
he got
it all
everybody's
comes
phone?
back to how are they going to prove that this is a sex trafficking, quote unquote,
why does he have
as
everybody's
opposed to
phones?
A John that, you know, booked prostitutes and had assistants that booked prostitutes and had willing participants in the prostitution that were getting paid or some other reward for it. Like that first guy that took the stand, who was a male prostitute, who says, hey, listen, I never got paid. This was I was doing it out of the goodness of my heart. I don't know what that brought to the case, aside from him saying that he witnessed some violence against Cassie. But he was essentially saying, Cassie paid me. Cassie booked this. Cassie looked like she was enjoying it. Cassie gave me directions on how to properly urinate on someone, which, you know, that's weird to me.
That's weird.
You know, I don't know.
Don't empty all the piss out your wee wee.
What? She's going to cross-examine the testimony that she gave.
What? He told him don't empty all the pee out your wee wee. Huh? Where they do that at? Let it drip. What? Is this what? So now he controlling the escort pee. One drip, stop. Drip, make it pee like it's a bee. You know what? Oh, baby, please. It's the freakiest
shit. I don't know what that brought to the case, aside from him saying that he witnessed some violence against Cassie. But he was essentially saying, Cassie paid me. Cassie booked this. Cassie looked like she was enjoying it. Cassie gave me directions on how to properly urinate on someone, which, you know, that's weird to me.
That came from him.
It's been,
and he told her.
Oh, let's just go to Cassie's
so
testimony.
So he made her.
She's going to be cross-examined. The testimony that she gave when she was speaking
of the enterprise
is incredibly compelling, very graphic. It's hard to describe, But if you're the defense and you're trying to say that this was part of her, she was part of this, how do you go about not?
Now I would have said that, pressure, until her age at 19, he groomed her early. I'm gonna have to let you see me in my face when I say this. That's the only way you're gonna get it. She didn't even understand oral sex. When he went down on her, she had never had head before. She didn't know what to do. So that's just how to say she nasty. She wasn't nasty. She was groomed to be nasty. He made her feel bad for not returning the favor. She said, I didn't tell you to eat my cookie. I don't want to suck a lollipop. So you can't say she was nasty. He groomed her to be a freaking hoe. Let's be clear. She was 19. He was what, 30 something? His mama had been I'm gonna leave mamas alone. Because I will talk about your mama. You know that. Let me go on. let me go on. Mamas ain't off limits.
Jurors who may be seeing a pregnant woman on the stand giving this incredibly emotional testimony and get what you want out of someone who's a very key witness in this case.
Yeah,
she said, what you doing? What you sucking? Oh, what? Oh, no. The first time around, you have a freaky ass boyfriend. He go down. You don't know what to do. Like, what? Huh? 19, 20 years old. She wasn't no hoe before then. No, baby. Because if she was a hoeing before she would have known exactly how to get to the middle, get to the chocolate in a Tootsie Roll pop. She would have known how to swirl that sucker around in her mouth, but she didn't know what she was doing because she had never went there before. So now she wasn't nasty, and she's nasty as hell now. Ooh, she's nasty. But he taught her all of that. Open your mouth. Let me piss in your mouth. Shit. She didn't even ask you to give her head. She didn't ask you to eat her cookie.
on their team, and they brought in a young lady from Atlanta. They have Garagos, who I know did the opening statement. My guess is one of them are going to do the cross-examination of Cassie. Certain lawyers have certain attributes that are.
Sam. Ooh, that commercial scared me.
With his morning routine, like many of us.
Attributes that are good for certain witnesses. I am a scorched earth broadsword. I show no mercy. It's very difficult for me to pull back at a moment in time. I'm Mike Tyson in his prime. I'm not Mike Tyson fighting Jake Paul. So I don't pull punches. I don't kind of think about like, oh man, this one question is going to alienate the jury, which probably is my weakness, right? And that's why you want someone on your team that is beneficial and can cross someone without turning the jury off. And generally, that's a female on female job. If you looked at the Johnny Depp trial.
Yeah, because most of the time when they want them freak outs, a menage a trois, I guess this is different than a menage a trois. Most men want two women. No, not Diddy. No, because he wasn't turned on by her. He wanted to see the man. See, that's why he asked for that picture. Send a picture back of your dang-a-lang. And when he did, Diddy said, bring him back. Tell him, yeah, come on back. I got a tip for him. He wanted to see that thing work. See? And that's how he got paid the extra money. I need to go back to that video earlier I played in the live before that, where that escort, it collaborated. What he said a long time ago, it lines up. Yeah, he was turned on with the men. That's why I said earlier, y'all missed it earlier. He ain't up. I mean, he didn't lay that pipe down on her like he did Meek Mills. He went to work on Meek. Huh? He shit out of Meek. And hell, all he can do with her is sit back in the chair like he was watching what's the lady name? What's that movie where somebody was sitting in the back watching her dance all nasty and shit? I can't think of the movie, but all he could do when it came to her, sit over there in the corner and jack off. But he laid whole pipe. I mean pipe silent on Meek. Huh? That's why I said earlier, you mad, you jealous of Kim Porter. Hell, you should have been jealous of Jay-Z and Meek Mills, because them the only two we know for sure. He like in Usher. Yeah. Let me go on.
So very successful was because of the way the lead.
Oh, you was there, V-Money.
The lead attorney in that case did his Marauders lineup. And the Marauders lineup for that case was exactly the way that it should have gone.
Eric, you're gonna make me look at you. I gotta look at you with my good eye. You asking me, do I think he really was beating the hell out of that canal? Did you hear him? Did you hear the moans? Did you hear them screams? Did you hear him? What's MOA? What's MOA? Oh, Usher, he was a teenager. See, I want to whoop his mama's ass. And I know he grown as hell with kids and everything. You ask him to let what's his name, Doodoo Pimp Diddy, mentor his son. He said, hell to them. No. His mama need her ass whooped. I don't care how old she is. I done told y'all, mamas ain't off limits. Yes, I think he ripped. Didn't you hear the girl say when they be leaving them hotels? I'm on my way to it. They left piss and blood. Where do you think the blood came from? We know he liked pissing. We know it was an overload, so it's going to be a whole bunch of pee on the floor. But they have a history of leaving piss and blood. I think the moans and groans and screaming and I think he wore Meek out. I think when Meek was sitting in that warm jacuzzi pool and he's sitting there calling him daddy. Hey, daddy, you work for that daddy. Didn't she say they call him Papa Daddy? And Meek took it so well, hell, I guess he was calling him daddy. Hey, daddy. You know, he went into his feminine character. Hey, daddy. You know, that's what the females do. Hey, Poppy. Hey, Poppy. You didn't see that? You didn't hear that. Did you hear it? Did you hear it? How did you miss it? And then the next picture they show, video, they show he's sitting in some water thinking, oh my God, what just happened? He done came down off his high and his rooty, his is ripped from the rooty to the damn tootie. I know he needed stitches. But he didn't give it to her like that. See? She kept saying, I really just wanted to be his freak. I just wanted it to be with him. I didn't want it to be all over the place. I have a whole catalog of escorts. So he couldn't do her like that. He had to sit over there and jack off. And he wasn't jacking off to her. He was jacking off to the guy. Let's go. Let's go.
And they had a female cross-examining a female, and that really was the key to that case. The winning combination was that. So I anticipate that the cross-examination is going to be either Temi or the from my guess.
The older guy
I don't see a male attorney being successful in cross-examining
his
her.
daddy was
and
out
also
there
not
like
turning
that
the
too. I
jury
believe
out.
that. I told you it's in the family.
You know,
It was
I
up
look
under
at
the
this
rug.
case, I would chomp at the
I'm
bit
not
to
surprised there
cross-examine
wasn't no
Cassie.
blood
I would
in the
light her up
pool
like a Christmas
leaking.
tree. And it's not
Baby.
just because of what I
He went
heard
to
on
work
the street,
on him.
what I know from like listening and reading and things of that nature, but just the controversy and the in the testimony between what she says now and how long she was there and why she was there.
He
And
done
I'm
sold
sure
his
the
soul to the
prosecutor
devil.
has already kind of gone over this with her and pre-tried their case. But it's very difficult to answer those questions, why you would stay with someone for 7 years. And I've said this before. The first time someone does something or urinates on you or
In your
asks you to
mouth.
do something weird, that's weird, right? The first time you're like, okay. The 50th time, you know, there's something to that. There's something more there.
Did
And
you miss? Okay, Eric, you came late to the party. You missed it. She said she had sores and shit in her mouth. Bunch of diseases and shit. Sores and shit in her mouth. Yeah. Cause remember, he forbidden condoms. Yeah. Type of shit.
Psychiatrist or psychologist that's going to say, well, she was coerced because she was, you know, mentally abused and all these things. I don't know if that works with this jury. Not the way that I've seen this jury come together in terms of a deli clerk and a massage therapist. I don't know if that argument's going to work.
They need to have a specialist to come in there.
You know, cameras aren't in the courtroom, of course, and we only know what we're being told about how things went in the courtroom yesterday. As far as her testimony, how big of a problem is that
buddy
for
boy,
the defense thus far? How
she
did it
pregnant,
go?
so
If you
maybe
were
she,
defending Sean
you
Collins,
know,
how would you say from what you've heard?
Sure, she had to have that. What is that? Where you can get your your vagina rejuvenated and shrunk or something, tightened. I'm sure she had to get a coochie tune up and get it tightened. You know, she done had some babies and this will be her third one. So, you know, I'm sure she needed to sit on that pot thing and you know, detox the cootie cat. Yeah. That's a lot.
The direct went.
So I always look at cases like basketball games, and I always say, you know,
herpes has
you can be
mouth
down
canker.
10 points
Yep.
and then all of a sudden go on a run of 20.
He said, you slow.
It's so early in this case to really determine
He late to the party.
Where it's going. Her testimony alone, I think it was expected, right? We've known kind of her story forever. She filed a complaint.
No, I'm sure she had
did all these
abortions.
things, made statements. Her lawyer made statements. People
Well, hell,
made
she
statements.
wouldn't know. You know, I said that prematurely. No, thank God. No, I don't think she did. But I was about to say, I'm sure she had to have some removed. Well, hell, he didn't want to screw her. Remember, he just wanted to. Yeah, you know. Well, maybe a few times. Yeah, maybe a few times. But majority of the time, hell, his ass, he paid for escort freak outs. He jacked off watching them more than he screwed her.
Something that came out that was so unusual. I mean,
in my opinion,
the certain body fluids and things like that. Obviously, we didn't know everything.
So
to me, it went as expected. I mean, you knew she was going to take the stand. You knew she was pregnant. You knew she was going to testify the way that she's testifying, that she's a victim and not a co-defendant. And it's really the job of the defense now is to, launch those nukes and say, hey, you were with the guy for 7 years. You enjoyed going on $100,000 shopping
well, they had
sprees.
whoever job it was to bring the accessories and the make sure the kits, they had Plan Bs, they had baby oil, they had all of the mushrooms and DHC and ABC and little dolphin, blue dolphin pills. So whoever had the position of purchasing from the grocery store or Walgreens, they would be the ones that was supplying the Plan Bs, because they had to have Plan Bs, like they had to have baby oil, Johnson & Johnson.
The red carpet. You did all these things. You called these people. You arranged these people. From what I know, just from hearing from around the rumors and some of the testimony, is that she was calling these people on her own. She was setting these things up on her own. Sometimes Sean Combs would be out of town and she was calling these people, asking for pictures of the guys and descriptions of the guys. And really the defense has to go the route that, you're sitting there today, not as a co-defendant, but as a victim, simply because you're cooperating with the government. But, she didn't complain. The day she left in 2018, no one heard anything about all these things. She never said that she did these things unwillingly and it was disgusting. And Sean Combs is a gross guy. You heard about it after she was married for several years to a trainer that probably couldn't provide her the same type of.
If you've been waiting to apply for disability benefits, don't. Hi, I'm Sarah, and I'm a lawyer at Atticus. Applying as soon as you're unable to work or struggling to work due to your medical condition can really help strengthen
years to a trainer that probably couldn't provide her the same type of lifestyle she was used to in living with Sean Combs, and then she sues him for $50 million. That's the defense. That's where they need to go with it. Is it, a two-edged sword? Could you turn the jury off? Sure. There's a way to do it that doesn't turn the jury off. It's probably not my way because, like I said, I'm like John Wick when I cross-examine somebody. I leave no body. There's nothing left when I cross-examine someone. So, I think it needs a lighter touch, but to prove the same points that I just discussed.
There's that video from the incident in the hotel that now has been seen by everybody. I'm sure many of the jurors have already seen it. We're aware of it because it was such a big news story when it came out. So we have some extended footage that's been released. But what role will that video? Sean Combs is not on trial for domestic violence. Like the defense is kind of pointed that out. But what does this play? Is this a problem for the defense, that video being included?
Sure. The video is always a problem because it demonstrates that he's a violent guy. He's not a good guy. And whenever you have a case, it's always, although it should not be part of the case, it always is that the defendant's a bad guy.
Listen,
nobody wants the jury, especially the government. If
it was just about money, she could have did that when the R. Kelly and the Me Too movement was out there. I would assume that emotionally and mentally, even then, she wasn't ready. See, she wasn't ready emotionally and mentally to face it and deal with it. If it was just about money, she could have did that then and jumped on that bandwagon. See, I believe that she had to have had to get some help in dealing with what she's been through. I'm sure she had a certain type of violence and abuse within herself, trusting, sex, all of that. So once you start getting help and you come to terms with some things within yourself, then is when you make a move like that. But if she really just wanted to, and if it was all about money, she could have did that when the Me Too movement was tough, heavy, and then everybody could have came out, but she didn't. So I ain't necessarily buying that. And I'm sure after all that, she probably realized that money ain't all of that. She don't want to sell her soul for money no more. Hell, and he didn't give her none. All he did was to take her on some trips, and hell, them trips wasn't about me and my dude. Them trips was about freak-offs. So what did she benefit from? She had an apartment and she had a car. What else? He wasn't paying her. She didn't become a superstar. No. So living what type of lifestyle? A freak off lifestyle? Shit, no, man. Shut
Feel
up.
bad for a defendant. So when you have a defendant that goes to church every Sunday, takes care of his mom, takes care of his kids, has no other issues, no sexual issues, no crazy stuff in his background, the prosecution is usually left kind of floundering. And those are usually your white collar crime cases and things of that nature, but they find something, right? Oh, he was a good guy, but look, he spent money on Ferraris and Lambos. He went to $1,000 dinner. They do anything they can to dirty up a defendant. Now, in this case, it's not that hard to dirty up Sean Combs because, for all, from everyone that's viewing this, he's not a good guy. Nope. And this is not like something that is a revelation that he's not a good guy. It's
and Young Miami talking about she like Golden Rivers or whatever that shit is. She likes to be pissed in her mouth.
Like, this is not someone that is going to church every Sunday and is a great dude. But the defense, that is the defense. Defense is, listen, he's not a good guy, but that's not a crime. The crime is not that he's not a good guy, that he's not a good person, that he hasn't made mistakes, that, he's gotten violent before, but, they're going to say Cassie was a violent woman as well, and that it was tit for tat, that she would smack him around, he would smack her around, and this was something that was their relationship was very toxic. And that angle is the only angle they can take, especially with that video, that I think the video is a horrible video. And if it was a domestic violence case, he'd be convicted tomorrow. The problem is it's not a domestic violence case. So the prosecution is going to say, well, the video shows that he's a horrible person. But besides that, it shows the control he had over her, that it wasn't just mental control, it was also physical control. And when people didn't do what he wanted them to do, he got violent. And that's going to be the problem with the video. And if the other witnesses take the stand and say the same thing, that video just, like I said, bolsters her testimony that she is a victim and not a co-defendant.
The mere fact that he had a temper tantrum in court, that her boyfriend, her baby daddy, her husband, he didn't want him in there. He acting the fool in court, trying to run shit in court. Run your ass back to your jail cell. That's what you do. That's where you go.
Obviously, I think it's 8.5 months pregnant, so she could have a baby, really at any point. And she went early in this case that could go, this trial that could go weeks. I mean, with how good you feel if you were to cross-examine her, if you were the defense, would you have wanted her later in this trial or have her at the beginning?
Yeah, he got violent again.
That's a good
when
question.
He saw that she went behind him.
And for the defense, I think having her earlier, I mean, she's pregnant. It is what it is. You can't get around that. I mean, even if she gives birth, she's going to come in and say, I just gave birth to a baby. Like, it doesn't really matter, right? Any way you cut it, it's not great. She's either a brand new mom with a newborn or she's pregnant and currently pregnant, and none of those facts are good. Whether or not to have her earlier or later, I think for the defense, having her earlier is better than having her later, because having her earlier, people tend to forget things. It moves on. You're 3-4 weeks down.
But what about Young Miami?
The video in the first couple days of the trial. I think for the defense, it actually is beneficial.
He probably didn't handle her like that.
And leaving on that note, in 3 weeks, she's the last witness, and what a bad dude he is. And you build up that suspense. Oh, we're going to hear from Cassie. We're going to hear from Cassie. The jury's ready. They want to hear from Cassie. And then Cassie takes the stand and she delivers, right? That's what you don't want. So having her earlier, I think, is beneficial for the defense, in my point of view. For the government, I don't think it's a good move to have her earlier than later, because you don't get to see.
Y'all killed me coming in here telling me Cassie is not innocent. She is not guilty of nothing. She didn't manipulate him. She didn't groom him. She was groomed by a predator. So do not come in here telling me she is not that she is not innocent. She is not guilty of abuse, and she is not guilty of grooming him at 19 and she 38. Get the fuck out of here with that stupid shit. Let him have your daughter for 10 years and see if you won't think your daughter is innocent. People like you are a predator in the mind too. Get the fuck out of here with that stupid shit. Bye. 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 We do not, no. Get your ass up out of here. You the same person. Keep coming up in here, trying to get your point across. Go somewhere else. Anytime somebody has been groomed by a predator, you are not going to convince me that they are guilty. They have been manipulated and groomed to be taken advantage of, to be held out by 19. I want y'all to think of y'all 19-year. I don't care if they say you grown at 18. Think of your 19-year-old hooking up with a 30-some-year-old person. And tell me, men, what y'all gonna be like, what he want with her? He gonna this, he gonna that, and then he lie and have you think you gonna be the next J-Lo, Jenny from the block. Sign you to all of this, and he don't do nothing with you but introduce you to his fantasies. Yeah, okay.
See who's crossing, how they're going to cross individuals, the technique they're going to use. Are they coming in hard? Are they coming in soft?
He groomed her.
Those type of strategic things they don't get the benefit of. So her taking the stand early, I think, is beneficial for the defense, not as beneficial for the government.
One thing with financial records that stood out to me was that he had a frequent flyer account with Southwest Airlines, which, this is Sean Combs. He's supposed to be a billionaire. No disrespect to Southwest Airlines, but he's not really the person you would expect to see. I know that
probably in jail
or the free season. But what is the point of including that? What could the prosecution be trying to argue by including these frequent flyer accounts? And does it stick out to you that he would have
probably in jail
officially a budget carrier, but not something you would expect a media mogul to be flying on?
Yeah.
But if we're gonna tell the truth about it, that's why I bring up the rug. We don't want to acknowledge that rug. A lot of the taking advantage of, touching on, starts in the house with uncles and aunties, and it get pushed up under that rug, and then they go on in life. They still angry. They still have some emotional and mental issues, and then they do what was done to them to other people. I believe that Diddy had some things that was done to him at an early age. And then Andre Farrell, they say, did it to him, and Clive Davis. So he's repeating what was done to him. He was excited. He was willing to do any and everything he could to be a part of Uptown Records. How can I get in? What I need to do? I'm a hard worker. I'm a go-getter. And yeah. So as far as he's concerned, everybody that come in, that have that same excitement and their work ethic, they're going to have to work for it and do what he say do the same way he's repeating what was done to him. That's my opinion. If there's any out I have for him, that's it. I believe that was done to him.
So a couple things. One is I represent a lot of high net worth individuals. I mean, very
Men
high
don't
net
like to
worth
say that they were
frequent flyer
abused
accounts
sexually.
at United, Delta, Southwest. They have teams of people that they usually fly out.
Very seldom do you hear a man admit that they were aped or molested. Very seldom. Very seldom. Now, R. Kelly admitted that I think a couple of times he was taken advantage of, not only by men, but by women. But there's a stigma that comes to that. But most men do not. They just react out, or they have a hatred towards women. One, the mama for not protecting them, and two, if there was a woman who was involved. Because even though somebody will say, oh, he liked it, he a boy, he's supposed to like it. You still violated them. And if it was a man, then you know. But it's always pushed up under the rug when you go and you tell your mama or your daddy what happened. And if you tell your daddy 9 times out of 10, your daddy gonna go put some metal to whatever man touched you. But your mama, if it's her brother or her uncle or whoever, they gonna push it up under that rug. And they don't worry about what happens to you down the line. That's why I can't stand that rug. You know, I think that rug is is a generational curse. And Black people don't like talking about that. We don't like talking about what done happen in the house, what goes on in the house, stay in the house. And if you happen to keep bringing it up and crying about it, then you gonna get a whooping. And then 2 or 3, 4 months down the line, you're gonna see that same uncle or auntie or whoever that was touching on you and molested you, peeping around the corner trying to see if the coast is clear and gonna be trying to tell you to come here again. And your mama didn't protect you before. She told you to let it go. Don't worry about it. It'll be okay. It happens to a lot of little girls, little boys. But we don't want to keep it real like that because we don't want to tell on mama. A lot of folks are still holding on to what mama said will go on in how, and they grown. Don't even want to identify that some of their emotional and mental issues right now grown is because of what's up under that rug. I'm going to call it out. I'm going to call a spade a spade. And that's why I tell folks, if you don't want to know the truth, don't leave me alone. Because I ain't holding nobody's secret no more. Because I think that if you let go of some of them secrets, you'll set yourself free. That's just how I feel. Diddy, he done let his secrets finna put him in jail for life. That's just my opinion. He better start hollering his Uncle Leroy.
On different airlines. I think they're going to use it to prove that he flew prostitutes out to different areas and used frequent flyer miles or used his account to fly out prostitutes or to fly in, who's crossing, how they're going to cross individuals, the technique they're going to use. Are they coming in hard? Are they coming in soft?
Are you going to jail? It's a vicious cycle. It sure is.
Those type of strategic things, they don't get the benefit of. So her taking the stand early, I think, is beneficial for the defense, not as beneficial for the government.
One thing with financial records that stood out to me was that he had a frequent flyer account with Southwest Airlines.
Cheap ass.
Which, this is Sean Combs. He's supposed to be a billionaire. No disrespect to Southwest Airlines, but he's not really the person you would expect to see. I know they don't do assigned seating anymore. Well,
that's how he probably sent out his free.
What is the point of including that? What could the prosecution be trying to argue by including these frequent flyer accounts? And does it stick out to you that he would have, it's not officially a budget carrier, but not something. That's how
he fly his freaks across town.
Yeah, so a couple things. One is I represent a lot of high net worth individuals. I mean, very high net worth that have frequent flyer accounts at United, Delta, Southwest. They have teams of people that they usually fly out, on different airlines. I think they're going to use it to prove that he flew prostitutes out to different areas and used frequent flyer miles or used his account to fly out prostitutes or to fly in, whatever, drug dealers or whatever they're going to say he flew in. I think that's where they're going with those records. I don't think they're introducing them just to show, hey, this rich guy also had Southwest accounts. But it's not unusual to have high net worth individuals having Southwest accounts or Delta accounts, or my favorite, JetBlue. Any of those accounts.
Which he had
because,
as well, by the way. Yeah.
Yeah, JetBlue. Well, who doesn't fly JetBlue Mint? It's unbelievable. But even if you're a billionaire.
Oh, you want to hear you want to hear it, pressure. You want to hear it. Okay. Let me let you hear it. Because me and you, after this,
the reason
after this, I'm going to it. I'm going to Rico, okay?
I'll get flown out on JetBlue.
Okay, pressure.
As opposed to, my clients saying, hey, I'm going to fly a private jet down to Florida.
Let me take pressure to
New York. They will usually say, hey.
After years of craftsmanship and timeless.
Y'all, after this, we going to Rico.
They will usually say, hey, I'll book you a ticket on JetBlue or whatever. And that's generally how that happens, is that, support staff, legal staff, assistants, things that people are not going to be flying with the individual on their private jets. Those are usually used with the Southwest accounts and things of that nature. So it's not unusual. To me, it's not unusual. Again, it's one of those things that, the prosecution is going to use it to show something else, but it's not an unusual in itself fact.
Is it a challenge when you're presenting financial records to a jury? I mean, they just heard from Cassie, and it was incredibly emotional, raw testimony. And then if they start talking about frequent flyer miles and show spreadsheets with dollars and cents, that you could find some jurors getting bored. I mean, is that a challenge? Is that a concern for the government as you're trying to paint this picture of what they say happened?
So let me start with this. Every trial that you're going to have moments of sleepiness, right? The boring parts of the trial. That's just part of trials. There's always a boring part, even in robbery cases.
Yeah, but it's always been like that, pressure. Just because you don't believe it's Rico as a one man, that don't mean that that's not the law. It's in there. I've said that before. If folks thought I was tripping, there could be a one man. Yes, it can be.
It's any of that. There's always a part of the trial. Give me
about 5 minutes.
That's going to be boring. Some guy takes the stand and says,
just because you don't think so, don't mean it ain't the law.
Stolen, and here's the accounting of what was stolen. Things of that nature. That's always going to happen. In this case, the reason why they're bringing in the paperwork after Cassie or during Cassie's testimony, possibly, is to, like I said, bolster her testimony. Hey, I paid, Diamond or Jaguar or whatever the prostitute's name is. I paid him $2,500 in cash, and I took it out of my account. And they know that the defense would say, oh, you paid him on his own. That had nothing to do with Sean Combs. What the prosecution is going to show is that, before she paid him the $2,500, Sean Combs zelled her, 10 grand or whatever it is.
Absolutely, Charles.
And that testimony in itself is going to try and bolster her testimony that she's indeed a victim and not a co-defendant, that Sean Combs was giving her this money to pay for these prostitutes. Now, that in itself is illegal, by the way. So, like for Cassie, that could be bank fraud. That could be tax evasion. Did she declare the money she was getting from Sean Combs? All of those things that she avoided by becoming a victim, as opposed to not cooperating with the government and probably becoming a co-defendant, are things that the defense are.
See, but the thing about that is, it wasn't her money. She was a worker. That was her job. The money came from Diddy. Yeah, that was just her job. And if she didn't do her job, then there was consequences to that. He wouldn't just fire her and let her leave. He would beat her. That was her job. Wasn't no money, because he didn't give her none. He didn't give her no money. He didn't give her no money. No money, honey. Let's get to Rico. Now, watch you have something to say about this. How can one man catch a RICO case by himself?
Welcome to TMZ Live, Harvey Levin here.
Read the definition of RICO and it asks, can one person be a part of a RICO?
Testifies in the Diddy trial. Kim Kardashian testified.
I would do the research for you, Pressure, but you don't support my platform like you support other people's platform, and I do my research. So for me to research that for you, I'm looking like you need to ask them people over there to go and break down to you, because all you have to do is do the research. This ain't the first person that would have been hit with a RICO. But come on, let's go. But I appreciate you being here, but you
The robbery trial, the Menendez brothers hearing is today. I mean, it is.
You don't support females like you support men.
Start with
I'm just saying.
Diddy trial because I have to tell you, Cassie Ventura testified, and if there's a word to describe the testimony the way prosecutors wanted it, I think that word is subtle, and that's not a word that generally convinces a jury. I'm actually stunned by what we've seen so far.
I will say that I think her testimony has been, up to this point, and she is, as we are speaking, still on the stand, but her testimony has been gripping.
I think it's gripping too.
And it has been, you're right, subtle. There's been emotion, certainly, but it has not been like attacking Diddy.
Well, and look,
she's just telling
this case.
Story.
This case is about two things: proving force or coercion, and that's what prosecutors need to do, at least on two of the charges, to convict him. So I think this, Charles, is really interesting. This is just one exchange,
right?
But I think it's, it encapsulates how she felt about these freak-offs, which has become a centerpiece of the case.
Which she said today on the stand that she agreed to do it. She was sort of into it at first, and then that changed when it was frequent, too frequent for her liking, and that's when things changed. But there's a lot of talk about
hold on. But because I like you, Pressure, hold on. I'm telling you, all you had to do was do a little research. Right here. It says, right here, RICO. With a RICO. So RICO charges can be brought against anyone who participates in a pattern of criminal activities or behalf of an enemy hit with a RICO. One person. One. Oh yeah, I've seen you support them. But did I just answered it for you? I just did the research for you because I ain't no hater.
The U.S. Attorney
you see what I did? I just showed you to you where one person can. He operates the enterprise.
Force and coercion.
Right. And she said on the stand that she took Molly X.
I think it's, it encapsulates.
There we go.
How she felt about these freak-offs, which has become a centerpiece of the case.
Which she said today on the stand that she.
I've seen you do it not too long ago, Pressure.
To it at first, and then.
But I ain't no hater. I was kind of shocked. I'm like, oh, really?
Too frequent for her liking, and that's when things changed. But there was a lot of talk about. Use of drugs,
and it was a man
for the freak-offs.
Yeah,
and
never seen you do it for a female though.
He said that he plied these
it was recently.
Unwilling participants, these women, with drugs, which is part of the force and coercion.
Right, and she said on the stand that she took Molly, ecstasy, cocaine. She never slept during these freak-offs.
No, more than one crime. More than one crime.
Mentioned on stand, it went 4 days.
Yeah. So let's get into this. So this is an exchange about the freak-offs. And again, what the prosecutors need to prove here is force or coercion. And this is what, at least for me, it really struck me.
Okay.
This is a prosecutor. Do you recall all the freak-offs? Cassie says that would be impossible. Prosecutor, did you want it to stop? Cassie, yes, I was humiliated. I don't have those words then.
Human trafficking.
I couldn't talk to anyone about it. And she begins to sob. The prosecutor, did you tell him you didn't want to? She answers, yes. Cassie says, I brought it up gently. I didn't want him to just do it with someone else.
The freak off.
The prosecutor, were you able to express your concerns to him? The defense objects, they rephrase it, and the prosecutor says, why would you talk to him gently? And she says, I didn't want to make him angry.
If you have arthritis, you need to see what's inside these shoes. Have you heard about Acusoli? These are the cutting-edge orthopedic...
And she says, I didn't want to make him angry.
Right. Now, go ahead. I'll let you make your point because I know what it is.
Yeah, I mean, my point is that to convict somebody of this, you have to show, I didn't want it. He forced me. He coerced me. And, you know, she's being, I think, honest here.
Yeah.
And she's saying, look, I didn't want to, I did it gently because I didn't want him to do it with another woman. I guess she was his girlfriend at the time. I didn't want to make him mad, but she's essentially saying, I was kind of backing off, giving him a hardline no.
Right. But the last part where she says, I didn't want him to be angry. Remember, and I know what you're going to say, that, look, prosecutors need to connect these dots, but they've already heard testimony from the male dancer who said that he was present when Diddy sat, that Diddy had slapped her, and that he was uncomfortable after that incident doing any more.
So Enterprise ain't made up what you think is made up, Preston. You thinking mob, but the definition of it ain't what you think it is. That's why a lot of people get locked up in jail, because they think the law is based on what they think it is.
And when she says, I didn't want him to be angry, and the jury is also seeing that, to me, that plays like force. Well, I know what you're saying.
I want to bring Derek in for a second, because Derek, when you say I didn't want to make him angry, that's kind of an anticipatory statement. It's not that he got angry, so I had to do it. It's in my head, did not want to make him angry, so I decided to do it. That, in some ways, I'm not saying it's right at all, but legally, in my head, that may fall short of proving force or coercion.
It certainly is a more difficult case than overt coercion. Holding someone at gunpoint and making them do something is certainly a more obvious example of coercion. But this sort of softer kind, where she was worried about anger, she was worried about potential blackmail. She testified that there were other
I tried to tell y'all they changed the rules when it started involving African Americans. I be trying to tell y'all in a nice, cute little way. And sometimes y'all act like y'all just don't get it. They make the rules and they change the rules. And when it started getting hipped and Black people start taking advantage of what they've been doing for years, they make it easier for the Black man to get busted. I mean, did I say it clear enough that time?
That she was worried he might use to blackmail her. These are also forms of coercion that can be used to prove that case.
That's a big deal. That if he did, and the prosecutor said this in opening statements, that they want to show that he told her that if you don't keep doing them, I'm going to release these videos of the freak-offs. That's coercion.
And he
Having
did
your
it.
information freely available on the internet makes it easier for anyone to...
And that came out today in court.
That's coercion. And if that gets proved, I think his goose is cooked.
How do you see this as all that different of the circumstances when Harvey Weinstein was accused of rape, when women were in rooms and felt like they couldn't leave, even though he wasn't necessarily holding them down? Those are forms of withdrawing consent and an inability to feel like you can get out of a situation.
Listen, the jury could say this is clearly force and coercion. They could say that. I know they could. All I'm saying is I thought it was going to be more direct than it was. I mean, this has been a buildup for a year now. And the way the prosecutor, when he filed the case, the U.S. attorney, when he held that press conference, it felt more direct, less subtle.
It's going to be more...
Less subtle. And again, the jury may well say, hey, and that's enough for us.
We should also say that she is still continuing to testify. We don't know what else is going to come up. But I also just got to say, like, the stories that... And this is the part where you said that it seemed subtle. It's like she was sort of telling the story of how their relationship worked, things that they did, people that they interacted with. It is, just to hear her telling it is fascinating as a juror. I got to imagine they are all on the edges of their seats.
Suge Knight came up.
Suge Knight
came up in the middle of this.
Right. Cassie told a story about while they were in the middle of a freak-off, a security guard came in and said, Suge Knight is down the street at a diner. And that Sean jumped up, according to Cassie, and went to leave. And she started crying and said, please don't do anything stupid. She describes another night when she was told, when they're walking into a club, to hold a gun. And she was nervous about it because they'd been doing mushrooms and they were high. And she didn't want to, I mean, it is...
I want to say one other thing.
A gripping tale.
It's totally gripping.
Start to finish.
I want to say one other thing. There are two of the three main charges where you need to show force or coercion. I just don't know how the jury is going to go on that. The third, but I will say, to me, the most damning thing is if the jury believes Diddy said to her, if you don't continue doing it, I'm going to release these freak-off videos. To me, that's just flat out coercion, extortion. And so that aside, the one count of transporting a sex worker across state lines for money, that third count doesn't require prosecutors to show force or coercion.
Rico.
That's the count.
That's just the transaction.
He's going to have a problem with that count. Given what we've already seen.
So right there, that's in itself.
Hi,
Rico.
I'm Melissa from Savannah, Georgia. Obviously, we're still in the midst of the trial, but if it turns out that all the things Diddy's been accused of are true,
over state
I
line.
believe he deserves every day of prison that he gets and then some.
For sex.
And Cassie opened the door for all potential victims of this man to feel as though they could come forward and speak about their horrific experiences. And even if she did agree to participate in the freak-offs at the beginning, the second she decided she was no longer willing to participate is the moment that things should have stopped. And to threaten and follow
That's just the transaction.
He's going to have three main charges where you need to show force or coercion. I just don't know how the jury is going to go on that. The third, but I will say, to me, the most damning thing is if the jury believes Diddy said to her, if you don't continue doing it, I'm going to release these freak-off videos. To me, that's just flat out coercion, extortion. And so that aside, the one count of transporting a sex worker across state lines for money, that third count doesn't require prosecutors to show force or coercion. That's the count.
That's just the transaction.
He's going to have a problem with that count. Given what we've already seen. So to be continued.
Hi, I'm Alyssa from Savannah, Georgia. Obviously, we're still in the midst of trial, but if it comes out that all the things Diddy's been accused of are true, I believe he deserves every day of prison that he gets and then some. I mean, Cassie opened the door for all potential victims of this man to feel as though they could come forward and speak about their horrific experiences. And even if she did agree to participate in the freak-offs at the beginning, the second she decided she was no longer willing to participate is the moment that things should have stopped. And to threaten and follow through with acts of violence and blackmail to try to force someone to do something that they no longer want to do is the definition of being a predator in my eyes. But all in all, I'm just hoping for peace for all the victims involved.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be
Wow. Keep in mind, I mean, she is the star witness, but this is just the first.
Oh, that'll be 6 weeks of testimony here.
Right.
Okay, we're going to go to Paris.
Yes. When we come back, Kim Kardashian taking the stand in the armed robbery.
The sweetest moments deserve the boldest flavors, like our new concrete mixers and lemon ice coolers made with fruity Skittles Pop. Creamy.
The statement as it read to us, and we're just wondering how of closure or the gallery to Kim Kardashian, you know, one of the biggest celebrities in the world, most recognized, and her walking in, I would imagine there was
3 on each side. And it's the redemptive act was
really fascinating.
Okay, we are going to take a break.
All right. When we come back, Kim's kid sister, Kylie Jenner, is winning. I was just so happy about it. Yes, Cardi.
Happy Offset is somewhere.
It's a big game.
By the way,
just warm fuzzy.
Wait. You're telling me Kylie?
They looked very cute.
That is, makes it illegal to this law.
Eyes off a card side because Tristan Thompson is also in the playoffs and they're wearing so much Knicks gear and really showing.
Is that fair? Is that accurate? Is that the right thing to do? We're going to get into it with D.L. Hughley when we come back.
Taking prostitutes across state lines.
More difficult counts for Diddy's defense to explain away is going to be the one that's based on something called the Mann Act, and that is makes it illegal to transport someone across state lines.
A sex worker for
it could be anyone.
It could be anyone where they're making money for the purpose of prostitution. And
there's a prostitution.
There are 2 charges on this. So it's essentially hiring a sex worker or somebody to come across state lines. You pay them money to engage in what amounts to prostitution, which is sex for money.
Rico.
And for that charge, you don't have to show coercion. You don't have to show force. And in my head, that's going to be the one that he's most vulnerable to.
Right. And we know that the defense has said that this Mann Act is racist. It is a law that came into being in 1910.
Trafficking, human trafficking, Rico.
The reason for it was certainly
and Pressure, I know you know this because we talked about that with that Destiny Plumber girl getting hit with that federal RICO charge for getting, she had that minor and she went across state lines to Mississippi. She's sitting in jail right now on a RICO charge.
The end of slavery, but Mark Agnifilo, the lead attorney for Diddy, spoke to us about this for one of our Downfall of Diddy documentaries. Here's how he describes it.
Let's switch our focus to the government. In my opinion, I'm just going to say it the way it is. No friend historically of the successful black man. Okay, none. And they start making this case, in my opinion, as a takedown of a successful black man. We have reduced
who've been doing what y'all been doing for a long time
of our society to being a monster. That should make us shake in our boots.
So they're going to present that, and they really did raise that in opening statements in somewhat oblique way, but they clearly are going to try to message that to the jury.
Will it be effective?
Is it racist?
Is the Mann Act racist? Joining us now to talk about it, our good friend D.L. Hughley. D.L., welcome back.
Hey man, how you?
Have you been able to catch up on any of the testimony that's going on?
Like anything from the 1900s, there are a lot of things that are racist, including the ice cream truck theme song, including the Star Spangled Banner. So that is true. It was not just taking somebody across state lines for the purposes of sex is the anniversary too. So I don't know. I think that Puffy's biggest problem isn't, and I think that like all prosecutors, they try to get the case that's going to yield them the best results. His biggest problem isn't that society thinks he's monsters, that they saw that video. So
you haven't.
So
you haven't.
Legal system on trial.
But Pressure, to you haven't. But this is the problem. This is how we, the people, get caught up in stuff because we don't see it like that. They just look at. You cannot take a male prostitute, female prostitutes across state lines to work. That's trafficking. 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 Human trafficking. Also, drugs. He has an enterprise. Drugs. Providing drugs. Forcing. Okay, you don't see it yet. Well, they done hit him with the charges. So it don't matter if you see it or not. It don't matter. He been charged with it.
I'm sure they're going to have some level of purchase for that. That's
one person.
To some people, to some degree. But putting the law on trial doesn't negate what happened. I mean, it doesn't negate what everybody else saw. I remember I was in Chicago when that video aired, and I remember there was a decidedly different tone once people saw that video.
If you say so.
I think that his problem, I mean, it's funny because I ain't trusted Puffy since he came up with Pizza Rock. Like, you know, I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Anybody that come with pizzas and vodka is up to something to me. But
my name's Chris, and I got dental implants 2 years ago.
You didn't see it with R. Kelly either, did you? Did you see it with Ira? Did you see Rico with R. Kelly? I just need to know where your mind is. Did you see Rico with Ira Kelly? Yes or no, Pressure? Did you see Rico with Ira Kelly? No, you didn't. Did they hit him with it? Yes, they did. Did you see where they was able to hit him with it? No, you didn't. Did the charge stick? Yes, it did. So it don't matter what you see.
Is that so many people tell
you don't make the laws. You didn't see it, but what happened? So you didn't see it. You didn't see it. You didn't think that it was legit. But guess what happened though? He got charged with it. He got convicted of it. So what does that mean that means that you don't know the law. Pressure, that's all it means. That's all that means. You don't know the law.
Once all that happened and you didn't say anything, you weren't a witness, you were an accomplice. But
so be careful what you do. All I'm going to say to you, my brother, is be careful what you do. Because you think you got to be able to see it. And then white folk saying, oh, okay, we're going to hit you with it. And then we're going to let the law show you where it is. Okay, that's all I'm saying. That's why a lot of my brothers and sisters is locked up in jail because they say you can't do that. That I ain't do that. That ain't Rico. Okay.
Funny. That's so funny you're saying this because I have been talking to people in the legal community. There are some celebrities.
It don't matter. That's not what you said. Now you moving the goalposts. I already said that to you, Pressure. It don't matter. I don't know if they said that they had evidence that they was moving people across state lines. I don't know. All I said earlier to you is they make the rules. They break the rules when it comes to Black people. I told you that. I told you that. So I don't know what to tell you.
The prosecutors
stop doing everything the white folks do.
It's unclear to me whether they're going to end up going to court, and I'm not sure exactly why, but they are scrambling right now. So
Black people, stop doing everything that white people get away with, thinking that you're gonna get away with it. That's all I'm gonna say to my people. Just cause, and then you can't go to court saying Epstein got away with it. Hugh Hefner had a whole bunch of hoes. How he get away with having, yeah. And then what happens? You took that situation and you done added a whole nother entity to it, you know. And I ain't never known none of them bunny rabbits to be, that he forced them bunny rabbits to stay and drag them down the hall and get caught on camera doing it. Dumbass.
It's going to be interesting.
Thank God I never went to one of those parties. I never went to one of those parties, but I think that it's so many people with so many accounts, and they're monstrous. They're so even if you just saw the Cassie video, which was horrifying. I think he has so many people who put, because those parties were very popular. He has so many people. I just don't understand
them parties
drugging people for sex. Like, I remember, remember we used to lie to get sex? Like, Ruth ain't got a damn thing on I love you. So I never understood that part. But it was, even when you couldn't go anywhere at a certain time of the year without people talking about public parties.
So you're saying it's wrong to play the race card in this case?
I think ultimately that law, there's no disputing the fact that the law was meant like vagrancy laws, like, you can jeopardize citizens, all those things came. But I think his problem isn't the law. It's obviously, it's that so many people are going to put names and faces and acts to the things that he's done. They're going to fill in a lot of blanks, and it ain't going to be a pretty thing.
So a lot of people knows what goes down.
Even Cassie today that's a tough thing to get a pregnant woman with not a lot of sexual experiences tell stories. That's tough to beat.
Well, to that point, there's going to be a point in the trial, DL, when Diddy's attorneys get up there and say this about the Mann Act, to point out that it was used to convict Chuck Berry. It was used to convict boxer Jack Johnson. And now they're going after Diddy. Is there something to this? And this Diddy's trial is not the first time we've heard this, where that the man, the government, is always trying to take down a successful.
Very soon, I'll be closing the doors of my handcrafted bags.
Because they can't just be black. They got to go back and try to mimic everything a white man did.
Celebrity black man. And
two things can be true. Like, two things can be true. There's no disputing the Mann Act, but neither one of those cases, it was generally that they were dealing with white women, which was the problem then. It wasn't it wasn't a plethora of people. It wasn't dozens of sex workers saying a thing. So I think, to me,
dozens of sex
workers. Anytime you have a defense attorney, he's going to go after the fruit that he thinks will resonate. I mean, I think whether it's putting police on trial, the system on trial, the law on trial, and I think that there are going to be some people who are probably inclined to listen to that to some degree. It's just so many people saying that. It's going to be so many people.
I'm really curious in your take on this jury. So it's 8 men, 4 women. Half the men are people of color. All the women are people of color. Does it matter?
What is that? Hold on, what?
Women are harder on women.
Will resonate. I mean, I think whether it's putting police on trial, the system on trial, the law on trial, and I think that there are going to be some people who are probably inclined to listen to that to some degree. It's just so many people saying that. It's going to be so many people.
I'm really curious in your take on this jury. So it's 8 men, 4 women. Half the men are people of color. All the women are people of color. Does it matter? I mean, people say, women are harder on women. And it's like, does that mean anything to you in terms of, foretelling what's going to happen here?
To me, I know that I'm more inclined to relate to somebody who looks like me and has some of my same experiences. But the truth of the matter is, black people send black people to jail all the time. And most people, black people who are in jail, were sent by black juries. So I think the fact that I know they're going to be able to be impartial. I know they're going to be able to render a verdict. And I know that it depends on how good I think the lawyer, both the lawyer and the prosecutor, pick the people who, obviously during the voir dire process, they're going to see who relates. But I think that video changed a lot. It changed a lot for him. It changed a lot of people's mind. And I think no matter what we say, I think probably, I think the Mann Act aspect of it is not the most damning part of it.
Yeah. All right. Okay, DL.
But I wouldn't want to be him. Goodness gracious, it's a bad day to be Puffy.
Yeah, no kidding. There's been a lot of those lately.
Man, let me tell you something.
All right, DL. Good talking to you, man.
Baby.
We'll see you next time.
Take care.
All right.
See ya.
Okay. We are going to take a break.
All right. When we come back, new testimony just in from Cassie, still on the stand, and she is getting into the details of a particular sexual act that happened during the freak-offs and whether or not she wanted it to happen. This is interesting.
Let's go.
Well, Cassie Ventura is still on the stand testifying, and some of what she got into here, we will give you a warning. It is a very vivid description of something that happened during at least one of the freak-offs.
And this came up in opening statements, and this has to do, and again, if you're going to be offended by this, if you're squeamish, you don't want to hear this. But this, the prosecutors brought this up, that the sex worker, they said, urinated on Cassie during these freak-offs. What Cassie testified is it was more than sex worker, it was Diddy.
Diddy as well.
In addition.
Right. The prosecutor says, did you want to be urinated on?
I didn't want anyone to urinate on me, she says. And then how often did it happen? She says, often enough.
And she says it was disgusting. It was too much. I choked. No one could think I wanted it. Why were you choking? It was too much urine in my mouth. Who else urinated on you? Sean. Did you want him to urinate on you? I didn't want anyone to urinate on me.
Then it gets interesting. The prosecutor says, why didn't you say no? Presumably before that, she had said she never said it. And she says, it was obvious I didn't want to be on the ground being urinated on by two men.
I think that's the key testimony here. We talked about yesterday that the prosecutors teased this idea of urination being so far outside of the norm that no one would consent to it that was rational or a reasonable person. That's what she's saying on the stand. Of course I didn't want to be urinated on by two men, so don't say this was part of our consensual relationship.
What the defense, I think, is going to do, and I'm just guessing here, is they are going to say that there is a community where stuff like this happens.
Yes.
And so it's not something that automatically is forced, and they're going to probably call somebody to the stand to address it. So if they do it, and I have no idea if they are, but if they do, then the question is she tolerating it? Because it's gross.
Right.
I get it. I understand it.
No, look, and honestly, I'm totally not here to yuck anybody's yum. What you're into, you're into.
Right.
It's consensual, great. But I'm just saying that I believe that for most of the jury, that is a very vivid.
It's vivid, but Charles,
description that will.
Charles, it's vivid, but they are going to. I've seen juries. Now, I don't know whether this jury is going to do it, but they are ultimately going to look at force and coercion. And now the question is, she's saying, in my head, yes, of course I was. But then some juror says, did he ever direct her, order her, force her? Did she ever say that? You know that discussion is going to go on. I don't know how they're going to come out, but they're going to have that discussion.
Hi, my name is Andrew Washington, and I'm coming to you from Long Island, New York. I'm talking to you about Diddy and Cassie. What's going on is absolutely absurd to see what's going on. People see the celebrity side of things, but they don't see the part of Cassie. She's being humiliated and has to tell the whole world about her humiliation. So no, at court, she might not have come out and said, yes, I said stop. But just think about how hard it is for her to come say, yes, I had these men urinating on me. That's not something that everybody can do. At one time, I looked up to Diddy.
You are 100% right. The only question, and the only thing I'm raising is the legal point of proving the elements of the crime. I don't know how they're going to come out.
I agree with you that that's not there. I just wonder how sophisticated the jurors are.
No idea.
That nuance will be something that sits with them.
Is it a nuance or not? I don't know how they're going to view it. Yeah. It's going to be interesting when the judge gives instructions.
Yeah.
Okay, taking a break.
When we come back, the jailhouse attack, the prison attack on Tory Lanez.
This is Pod 5, the first fully immersive sleep system. Intelligent.
Clearly an upgrade.
That is, but
back and being manipulated by a powerful mogul like Diddy. I just hope when this case is.
What else do you guys want to talk about?
Hi, my name is Rihanna Ulmer from Winchester, Virginia.
Worse.
Both of his lungs collapsed.
This is one of those but for the grace of God things.
Right.
Hello, this is Malik Taylor from Memphis, Tennessee, and I feel as though with them attacking Tory Lanez and stabbing him 14 times, it goes to show you they was trying to take this man out. He has made some enemies, and they wanted to take him out, and I feel as though this is the attack to trying to take him out. If it's not the warning, it's the thing to show him within these next 10 years, never feel comfortable. And
why she stayed for so long when they
I mean, clearly tried to kill him.
Yeah.
What else you guys want to talk about?
Hi, my name is Rihanna Ulmer from Winchester, Virginia. I'm talking about Diddy. I just can't imagine being Cassie and going into that courtroom and facing the man that used and manipulated you for years and having to relive those stories that she's probably been trying to heal from. I just don't like how people are questioning why she stayed for so long when they don't understand how it feels to be a young lady in the industry like that and being manipulated by a powerful mogul like Diddy. I just hope when this case is over that she's able to find peace and close this chapter in her life and have a healthy pregnancy.
It's got to be so difficult. I mean, just recounting.
And remember, she's going through all this very pregnant.
Right.
Yeah.
One more.
Hey, this is Whitney from Atlantic City, New Jersey, and I want to talk about Kim. I just can't really imagine going through the whole ordeal that she did.
Come back. That trailer that she mentioned, you will see it all spare.
Okay, hold on. Okay, hold on. Hold on. This is how I'm going to end today. This is how we going to end. Did I watch this one? Did I watch this?
We're just a few days into the federal trial of music mogul Sean Diddy Combs, a spectacular fall from grace for the one-time richest rapper in the world. He's facing charges of racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking, and transportation to engage in prostitution, in addition to emotional and sometimes graphic testimony. The judge, jury, Combs' supporters in the gallery, and members of the media are seeing physical evidence of Combs' alleged criminal enterprise. I'm going through this that has been pivotal to this entire saga and discussing new details about Combs' finances and travel with celebrity criminal defense attorney Bradford Cohen. We're on the case presented by Law and Crime. I'm Chris Stewart.
I don't remember if I played this one or not. What is this one up here? I got pinned.
In November 2023, Cassandra Ventura, better known as Cassie, filed an explosive lawsuit against her ex-boyfriend, Sean Diddy Combs. She had been...
I think it's that.
Bolster the testimony.
Oh, yeah. I did this one. Is it because I still have it up here? Where is this one at? Oh, it's this one. Let's go.
Now we are going to check in with Law and Crime's Elizabeth Milner. She has been in the courthouse the entire time throughout the duration of this case. She's been to every hearing and she's been there for the trial every day. She has been in the courtroom. So Elizabeth, I'm really interested to hear from you about what's been going on this morning in the courtroom. Some really compelling testimony. I've been reading online that the jurors have been seeing some photographs from Cassie Ventura's electronic devices that show maybe some bruising and some other things like that from injuries says she suffered at the hands of Sean Combs.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's kind of a majority of what the focus was on today. We saw a lot of exhibits in front of the entire gallery, as well as the jurors, too. A lot of text messages, a lot of photographs, either photographs from the red carpets after physical abuse that Cassie was talking about during her testimony today. We saw text message exchanges between Cassie and Diddy, who, in some text messages, he's referred to as the name of Pop, and Cassie is referred to as baby girl in these types of text messages. And so that was kind of a lot of focus of what this morning has been so far. Cassie is still under direct examination by the prosecution. She's being questioned by ASA Emily Johnson. Diddy today appearing in a different color today. He had a cream sweater on, a white undershirt. He had gray slacks on, whereas Cassie, she had a nice, a very gray long dress on. She came in with a black trench coat. Whenever she had walked over to the witness stand, it was kind of the same situation as it was yesterday. She didn't look over to the defense's side. She didn't eyeball Diddy from what I could see of her walking up to the witness stand. It seems like she was just laser focused on getting there, sitting down. The jury would be brought in afterwards. They would sit down. She would kind of, look at their direction, definitely not looking at the defense's direction. And from what I could see, even during her line of questioning, it seemed that she was just, again, laser focused on just answering the prosecution's questions. She kept her eyes on the prosecutor, again, that being Emily Johnson, while she was asking her questions. A notable thing that I also saw while sitting inside the courtroom today is that, Diddy's support looked a lot different today. Normally we're seeing his entire family members. We're seeing some of the mothers of his children come into that courtroom. And today was a little different. Today it was just Christian Combs, aka King Combs, Justin Combs, Quincy Brown, Janice Combs, Diddy's mother. But notably, none of his daughters were inside that courtroom today. They had been there Monday and Tuesday, but not sure if maybe it was the rain that didn't bring them in today, or maybe it was the fact that they knew, Cassie would be testifying for a couple more days, and just kind of the graphic nature of her testimony. They were just kind of like, let's not come today. But that is some big standouts that I definitely noticed while sitting in the gallery today.
This is some really graphic and difficult testimony. And Sean Combs' daughters, I mean, these are young women, teenagers in some instances. And I mean, this has got to be difficult for them to hear. A woman, these are graphic sexual details, physical abuse, drug use. I mean, these are really difficult things to listen to. And this is their father. And this is another woman. So this has to be difficult for them to hear. And I think I was reading the other day, Elizabeth, that they actually walked out at different points during some of the testimony.
Yeah, they walked out specifically during Daniel Phillips' testimony. He is one of the escorts that Cassie had spoken about as far as being involved in the freak-off, someone that they would use pretty often. And so during that time, especially when it came to, like you had said, Anjanette, just some of those graphic details, sometimes I really kind of get lost in just all the notes that I had, because at this point I'm already on notebook 2 from this trial, and we're only on day 3. So a lot of stuff kind of going on. But yeah, for the most part, it is a lot of hard details to kind of listen to. Look, I'm older than Diddy's daughters. I am older than Cassie was when she had met Diddy. And even for me, myself, it was very hard to kind of listen to that testimony. I recorded a sidebar yesterday, and there was just a moment that I had to take myself because, just to kind of hear from her perspective and kind of, the physical abuse that she says she endured during her relationship with Diddy. Because even as somebody, like myself, who was always on social media, always following pop culture, always kind of invested in, what is going on with celebrity lives, for a long period of time, it seemed like they were this quote unquote picture perfect couple. Every time you would see them, Cassie would appear very happy. Diddy was always on her arm. They were traveling all around the world. They were taking private jets. They were doing, just essentially living the high life. But then here,
why are women everywhere choosing Abby X, the new tummy tuck alternative? I got the tummy tuck
jets. They were doing, just essentially living the high life. But then hearing this graphic testimony, hearing that, after a red carpet premiere that she would have to go and do a freak off, hearing that, on a birthday where she just wanted hang out with her friends and do karaoke, things like that, because she was in her early 20s to late 20s when this relationship was going on. And it seems like she, from her perspective, just wanted to live like any normal 20-something where, she would spend time with her boyfriend. She would only be intimate with her boyfriend, but at her boyfriend's direction, which is something that she had talked about throughout the duration of her testimony, that she participated in these freak-offs because that made Diddy happy. That was something that he fantasized about. That was something that she essentially wanted to do to please him. And so, just hearing through all of that, it is very hard to kind of digest that and unpack it. And as much as people may say, like, I don't understand how Elizabeth can deal and listen to all of this, I don't understand how Cassie can testify to all of this because it is so graphic, and I can only imagine how she feels having to do this in in the general public, having to talk about doing freak-offs when she had UTIs or when she was on her menstrual cycle or that type of sort. It's very, very graphic details that she is laying out while the prosecution is questioning her.
I'm sure it's just got to be traumatic for her to relive this. So I'm wondering, Elizabeth,
so
from
the
your vantage
cycle
point in the
thing
courtroom,
too.
how is the jury, if you can get a good look at them? Because I know it's sometimes in these courtrooms, you know, you're trying to look around, it's crowded, you know, you can't always see, and sometimes jurors are very stoic. But are you able to see the jurors and see if they are reacting at all? You know, is there any facial expression that you can see from them as they're listening to Cassie and as they see that awful hotel video from 2016?
Well, the hotel video, the jurors had already seen even as early as Monday. And so that was something that they were very familiar with. As far as, you know, reactions, there was no visible reactions from what I could see. I couldn't see anyone necessarily, you know, wiping away tears. For the most part, I saw, you know, some jurors were taking their notes down. Some jurors were, you know, because whenever the exhibits are shown, they're displayed on a screen right in front of them, very much intently analyzing these messages, looking at them, looking at the contents of it. Because in addition to the messages that we saw, even the red carpet photos that we saw, you know, we also saw photos of Cassie with a fat lip, as she had called it. You know, it was bruised, it was swollen, as you could tell from the photograph. We saw her with a cut on her eyebrow that she had to go to a plastic surgeon at Diddy's direction so that way they could get it fixed. You know, you see photos of her with bruises on herself. You know, some of the photos that we even have in house of Cassie and Diddy on red carpets and that sort. But as far as the jury's reaction to it, for the most part, you know, they were again looking at either the exhibits, taking their notes down, or even just directly looking at Cassie herself. I feel like her testimony comes off very compelling, very credible. You know, even for the most part, if there's a question that, you know, she doesn't necessarily have the answer to, she's very open about that. I don't remember, I don't recall, I don't remember exactly what he had said. She comes off very credible. And even Diddy himself sitting at the defense table, he's doing kind of like a tennis match look where he's looking, you know, at ASA Emily Johnson, then he's looking at Cassie, he's looking at the jurors. And, you know, as much as, you know, I talk about Diddy very much being a part of his defense, he definitely is, because he is very laser focused on the testimony that is coming out. He is very laser focused on what Cassie is saying. And if there is something that she had said, he's writing some notes down, he's handing it off to his defense attorneys. And so, yeah, it seems like for the most part, a lot of people are just very much intently listening to just what she all has to say. And a lot of people, for the most part, are just being laser focused on Cassie and everything that she has been describing throughout the duration of their on and off relationship for an 11-year time period.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's something our viewers have been asking about today, Elizabeth. You know, how long were they together? And, you know, 11 years. I mean, it's a long time. And she was a very young woman when she got together with him. So there's a lot to go over through her testimony. I want to get back to what you were saying about Sean Combs. And you're saying he's a really active participant in his own defense. And of course he would be. I mean, his life is on the line here. He could, if he's convicted, spend theoretically the rest of his life behind bars in a federal prison. You know, I was reading the other day that he was kind of just sitting back and looking at her intently at Cassie as she testified. You're saying it's like a tennis match. He's kind of looking back and forth, passing notes, things like that. Are you seeing any emotion from him, or is it just more like, okay, we've got to get down to business, and he's just kind of intently focused on this? I mean, are you seeing anything from him at all?
It's looking kind of like a little bit of both. You know, there are times where his head is down, you know, especially as they're talking about things like the number of escorts that were brought in. Some of these other testimony that was brought in as far as just how often and frequent it is. For the most part, I've not seen too much of a reaction, even as far as, you know, the physical assaults that are being talked about in this testimony. I'm seeing, for the most part, again, him just kind of either he's keeping his head down because he's jotting a note down, or maybe keeping his head down because his family is behind him, and in their respect, also kind of looking, you know, at Cassie and Cassie's direction, looking at the exhibits that are displayed into the gallery. And so for the most part, it does seem like he's not having too much of a reaction. Not sure if that's just a defense strategy that they're having, so that way it doesn't come off, you know, possibly prejudicial or anything like that. But for the most part, he just seems to be just kind of looking on, not having any type of reaction as far as feeling bad or anything like that. But again, you know, I'm not in his head at all, actually, so I don't know fully what he's thinking in his mind. But for the most part, it seems that if there is a point that, you know, he wants his defense to talk about or something like that. He is just jotting it down, handing it off to his defense attorney, but just for the most part sitting quietly at the defense table, but not even really looking at his family for, you know, affirmation or anything like that.
His
really
disposition done changed this time.
Being inside that courtroom at the defense table, focused on what the testimony is.
Oh, it ain't playful now.
Very interesting. Well,
not
Elizabeth,
today.
We are going to let you go. Court should be resuming fairly shortly, and we know you need to get back to it. Thanks so much. It's been great talking with you. We will let you get back to work. Elizabeth Milner, have a great afternoon.
Not today. It didn't go his way.
Yeah.
All right, we are going to get back to your questions with our panel. We have some great guests here. Melba Pearson is a former prosecutor based down in Florida, and Tyler Bailey is a criminal defense attorney in South Carolina. So guys, first of all, before we get to more of the questions from our viewers, and they're sending in some really good ones, Melba, just some thoughts on what Elizabeth had to say.
Again, just continuing with the heartbreaking nature of all of this, because, you know, much like Elizabeth, I was a huge Diddy fan back in the day. You know, this is a couple that we followed on socials. And again, you had that glamorous image and you really thought that this was, you know, a great couple. And then, okay, they broke up, whatever. No clue the horrors that were going on behind closed doors, and everything that she endured is just, yeah, it's just gut wrenching. And it also kind of makes us kind of, I guess, as fans feel guilty that, wait a minute, we were supporting this monster all along. I mean, I think folks kind of felt the same way in the wake of R. Kelly and all of those allegations coming out and then his eventual criminal conviction. But I think it's just, again, it's a gut check in terms of worshiping celebrity and sort of like who you follow and what the real story is, and the fact that they are human and subject to all the human frailties, both good, bad, and indifferent.
Yeah, I think this is a good reminder that no matter what you see, these pictures on social media, Tyler, whether you think Sean Combs is actually guilty of a federal crime, you never know what is going on behind closed doors. And obviously, you know, it's very evident there was domestic violence here.
Yeah, and, you know, what I found really interesting about what Elizabeth just told us was the lack of emotion that she could see from the jurors. You know, we know about Mr. Combs and these allegations, and they're hearing this horrendous testimony and live in that courtroom, in that solemn courtroom, by a competent AUSA who's prosecuting this case. And she said she did not see much emotion on the jurors. You know, I don't want to read into that too much, but that could be that the jurors are really doing their job and taking in all evidence and not rushing to an early conclusion, that they could have been aware of what they were going to see and they weren't shocked by what they're seeing and hearing. But it's real early in the case, and we'll see what that means later on.
Yes, we will see. We will see. Let's get to more of your questions now. This one is from Corey Evans. Melba, do you believe this trial warrants the government spending millions of dollars solely to arrest him for participating in a few freak-offs? I think the government would say it's more than a few freak-offs.
Yeah. I've heard a number of comments.
Do you know what eating cabbage can do to your heart?
They give me gas.
Cabbage is around that. And again, let's remember, we all have sisters, mothers, aunts, women that we care about. And I think that it is critical that the government, whether it be on the state level or the federal level, takes these types of cases seriously. Because again, it's not just about a couple freak-offs. It's about the fact that someone was brutalized and forced against their will to go different places and perform sex acts. That's not okay. So yes, absolutely. I think that the government should be spending millions of dollars to let folks know that it doesn't matter how wealthy you are or how broke you are. If you are abusing people, you need to be held accountable. Period. End of story.
Our next question is from J. Mack, Tyler. Diddy's lawyers in court documents has stated he has a tape on Cassie trying to extort Diddy for money. If she's caught doing that, what happens, or the tape proves exactly that. So this would be possible impeachment evidence.
Yeah, it will hurt her credibility. Right now, you just heard Elizabeth say that she seems to be doing a good job giving her testimony, that she seems very believable. But during cross-examination and possibly as impeachment evidence, if they pull out this video, I think it could show the jurors another side of her. And I think that's exactly what the defense is going to do. They have to show the jurors another side of Miss Ventura. As we said earlier, she's 8 months pregnant. She seems competent. She's a beautiful woman who went through horrendous things. And the defense has a job to defend Mr. Combs and hopefully, in their view, get him acquitted. And by doing that, they're going to have to pull out all punches with a velvet glove, with a hammer, or whatever they see fit. But they're going to bring this out.
I want to mention, too, we've been asking our viewers some poll questions in the YouTube chat. So one of the poll questions we've asked is, do you believe Cassie Ventura's versions of events? 88% of the voters in the chat say yes. 12% so far are saying no, they don't believe it. So the lion's share of the voters believe Cassie. Our next question is from S. Lee. Melba, this one's for you. How does Cassie's testimony at trial affect her settlement agreement? And I'm assuming this is referring to the civil lawsuit. And of course, there was an NDA probably attached to that. So where they probably promised not to speak about this publicly and that type of thing. But oftentimes, NDAs, when it comes to testifying in court, that doesn't, that supersedes an NDA.
Yes, absolutely. So first off, whatever settlement agreement they had, one would assume the money's been paid.
Oh, yeah, that came out in court today, too. It was $20 million.
So that is pretty much concluded. Now, in terms of the NDA and her being able to testify, again, a government subpoena is a government subpoena. If you disobey a government subpoena, you can be held in contempt of court. So the NDA does not hold water when it comes to being subpoenaed to speak in court about, a particular issue. However, how it would come into play is that the settlement may not necessarily be the feature or be discussed in the trial as a general premise.
The settlement was $20 million. I think it came out in court today.
Issues that were raised.
Okay, so here's the last one. Yeah, I know. Let's go to the last one. Close that. Yep, I think it came out in court today. Let's look at this. Well, will you look at this? Y'all ready to go there?
So they are. So does the CIA. Maybe Secret Service.
I mean, they are. Some of these things are literally in the. Okay, so this guy Jonathan Odie is making news all over the place. This is a guy who went up in 2018, ran up in a Trump hotel or so. The police was arrested and was taken in for interrogation. And when they started to interrogate this man, he started saying very off the wall things. He's making all these different crazy statements.
That's $20 million.
But there's one statement in particular that's standing out and is getting a lot of attention. He mentioned being a settlement that supposedly Diddy had paid out. He also said that, these rappers and stuff, they're moving drugs around.
What's his name? You should tell everybody how credible she is. 20 million. Mm-hmm. What's his name? We gonna go out with a bang. He was their sex slave. Is that what he said? Is that what y'all heard him say? Jonathan Odie. Let's go. Ooh, child, things are going easier. Ooh, child, things are right. Okay, let's hear this. Sex slave. Ooh, Rico.
Private planes to avoid detection by the DEA. I mean, this guy, some of the stuff is really wild, but when you relate it to what's going on with Diddy and Cassie right now today, you're gonna see that some of the things that this man is saying, I mean, some of these things are literally in the things that are alleged.
That's coming out now. Yes. What he was saying back then is coming out now.
Tell me what you think is crazy.
Okay. You don't have family in the United States? Yeah. Just my dog, Bubbles. My son's dog? Yeah. Deeds and Ross, which they good buddies, okay? They're gay. Who? Both. Diddy and Ross. And Khaled. They're all gay. DJ Khaled, Rick Ross, and PJ? Yeah. They all gay? Yeah. Gotcha. All right. Khaled is a Hamas supporter. Okay. Who supporter? Hamas. Yeah. Sorry, I said it wrong. No. Hamas supporter. Okay. I had sex with Cassie and Sean. Basically, he would masturbate and tell me what to do with Cassie. I had like 15 encounters, and I heard lots. Hidden in plain sight. It's hidden. I think I see what you said. Okay, how do I know this? Yeah,
Now, this was 5 years ago. This was 5 years ago, people. 5 years ago.
I want to know, how do you know this? Do you know Sean Combs? Puff Daddy? Yeah. Diddy, whatever you call it. So, yeah, go ahead. Yeah, he's part of what's called the Boule. The Boule is a branch of the Illuminati. Okay. It's the black people. Okay. I'm from Africa, so I'm not a racist. Okay. You're my brother, so I like black people. Okay. My mom, I was raised by an African woman in my house. Okay. She was just a servant, but she was my own. She, took care of me. Right. So I love black people. Okay. I had a settlement with Sean. You look at me, the game, the Illuminati card game. I'm not familiar with it, so help me understand. It's a card game. It's a card game. That tells you exactly what their agenda is. Gotcha. It's called mental pre-programming. That means that you predispose already once you play your mind. So you're predisposed at this happening, and you're accepting it. Okay. So they have a picture of Donald dead in that game. Okay. All right. I'm not crazy. They have the picture of Donald dead. But they also had the Twin Towers. They had everything on there. Okay, from A to Z. So it's kind of like a hidden agenda, which they try to make it open to our eyes, but we really don't see it. We're so busy working. It's kind of like hidden in plain sight. It's hidden. I think I see what you said. Okay, how do I know this? Yeah, that's what I want to know. How do you know this? Do you know Sean Combs? Puff Daddy? Yeah. Diddy, whatever you call it. So yeah. Okay, and he belongs to that agenda. That's why he's so famous. They land all the contracts. It's his attorneys, which are Mark Garagos and Ben Mercedes. Ben Mercedes worked for Bad Boy Entertainment for 4 years and worked for Hillary Rodman for 5. Okay? When I take Sean the threat of death on me, okay? I don't have it, but I can make it available under secrecy. That means that I wouldn't be liable because I don't want to be giving brain for anything, okay? I had sex with Cassie and Sean. Basically, he would masturbate and tell me what to do with Cassie. I had like 15 encounters, and I heard lots of business. Because what they would do is Sean talks a lot on the phone and on TV with speakers and stuff, and I was like a sex slave, okay? For them, that's what I was. That's all right? I caught herpes, and I came back and I sued for the herpes and won. But they did Mark Garagos and Ben Mercedes were his attorneys, okay? and Christopher Leon's here was my attorney. They asked me to turn in that, which was the video recording, and I did so. They gave it back to me accidentally, and it's possible I threw everything out. It's possible I can produce a copy. Gotcha. It's possible. I'm not sure. Now, how does this lead to Warsaw from? Okay. The Mercedes family, Ben Mercedes, that works with Mark Geragos. Mark Geragos used to be Michael Jackson's attorney. Yeah, out in Los Angeles. Yeah. He had he drugged Michael and they OD'd him, okay? He didn't overdose. They OD'd him because they keep the royalties of the music. Michael alone made $860 million alone last year, okay, in 2017, which who keeps that royalty? The music companies. Who represents the media and entertainment in the United States? Most of them, Mercedes stars. Kenny Mercedes, which is Groomer Mercedes Shaw out of New York, okay?
Now tell me though, how all of that led up to Thursday night, Friday morning.
Well, I've been trying. My settlement put me in a box. Basically, I couldn't talk because I was going to be sued. So I let it be, but they've been following me, and they've had, Mark Geragos has had the FBI on me, has had other agencies looking at me and spying on me, okay, because they want to set me up as an extortionist, like if I was extorting Sean for money. It's wrong. Basically, what happened is, Dees and Ross, which they're good buddies, okay, they're gay. Who? Both. Diddy and Ross. And Khaled. They're all gay. Okay?
DJ Khaled, Rick Ross, and Diddy?
Yeah.
They're all gay?
Yeah.
Gotcha. All right.
Khaled is a Hamas supporter. Okay?
Who supporter?
Hamas.
Yeah.
Sorry, I said it wrong.
No.
Hamas supporter. Okay? Basically, he's Arab, Palestinian, okay? The Ciroc agenda, okay, is basically binge drinking poured out on a yacht. They promote binge drinking and drugs. Basically, what happens is the hip-hop agenda is an agenda to move drugs along in the United States. You need to invoke the DEA. They move all the dope, okay, all the dope on private jets, which don't get screened by
customs,
by DEA, inside the United States. Okay, they move what's called.
Y'all listen to what you good here?
They move cocaine and they move liquid cocaine in the bottles too. Okay, so they put the liquid cocaine in the bottles and they move it. I've seen the liquid cocaine, I've drank it myself, having sex with Diddy and Cassie. Okay, it's not good. He drinks it all the time. Alright, he calls it GG, that's liquid cocaine. Alright. How do I know there's a conspiracy against Trump? Because it's in the Illuminati card deck. He should look at it for himself.
But let me bring you back to Thursday night, Friday morning. I mean, how did all of this? I think I better understand what you're saying. But what I want to know is how did that prompt you? How did that make you do what you did that night?
Well, we're getting to a point that his assassination is coming. Okay, because it's an agenda they perpetrate on the media and the news. Example, Madonna is a client of Mercedes, Ben Mercedes. He has her go on public TV and say, someone should, I have thought so many times of a message. That little message is Hillary's message, okay? Because Hillary sends it to Geragos. And Geragos gives it to Mercedes, and they give it to.
Y'all, this is coming up in court right now.
You're gonna need an
They thought he was crazy.
Sure, if I show you the website, you're just gonna go there. Oh, fuck.
All right. Help me understand you. How old are you?
I'm 42. I've been through all my life. I've had a great life. I've settled $4.125 million with Diddy. Okay, but he's scared that I was gonna expose him.
I don't want to talk about Diddy right now. I want to talk about you. Help me understand you. I mean, obviously we never met.
I know.
I don't know you from Adam's cat. I'm trying to, we'll get back to the event.
I got like 30 years ago.
Where you from?
I was born in South Africa.
What town? What city?
Newcastle, the Valley of 1,000 Hills. I'm from Zululand. I'm what you call a Zulu.
Okay.
I was born there. And then my parents were Latin descent from Argentina. They escaped the military dictatorship in Argentina.
Pinochet, all that?
No, the Argentina one. Yeah, my Pinochet was a Chilean one.
Okay.
I can't remember. It was like a military dictatorship. I can't remember their names.
All right. How many years did you stay in South Africa?
12 years in South Africa, and I stayed 12 years in Argentina. And then I came here to the United States, and I've been here 20 years since.
Okay.
18 years.
Parents, so you got a mother and father?
Dad came to visit me. He died here of cancer. And mom went back at home, I think, overnight.
Okay.
I'm out of juice, y'all.
My brother's in Argentina, my sister's in Europe.
Oh, so you don't have
family in the United States?
Yeah.
Just my dog.
Bye, plus size baddie. Bye, y'all. I'll see y'all tomorrow morning
I'm divorced.
around 10.
My ex-wife just started trying to want to tell me she's an attorney.
She's an attorney?
Yeah.
Where's she live?
In Boca Raton.
Boca Raton?
Yeah.
Okay. Does she know anything about this? Have you talked to anybody?
Yeah, she didn't know. But what happened was they didn't tag me so much on my phone 3 times just to figure out how they tag their iPhones. Okay. And basically it's on my way up. And I see an injury and all this. They've been watching.
See y'all tomorrow morning. I am out of juice. I'm 1%. It said. See y'all in the morning. Hit the like button on your way out. If you didn't hit it while you was in, Diddy ass in trouble. Rightfully so.
Americans like you, like me, like all of us here.
You said premeditated, so you thought about this. You thought this through?
Yeah.
Premeditated.
It's easy. That's like.
That's help me understand.
Though he's a witness, he's gotten shot at by them, and he's a witness that Ross came and threatened me at my house.
Ross came and threatened you at your house.
Diddy sent Ross, and I have to go.
Diddy sent Ross. Do y'all still hear that?
So. Gonzalez, he can back up what you're saying about P. Diddy and Ross and all that? Okay, all right. And you said Gonzalez didn't know anything about...
His name was in that book.
What you did? You didn't talk to him before?
No.
That manual with all the sex escorts.
And I told him, look, man, what's happening is he's trying to pull things down, but then the feds have been harassing him. The feds. They have a big file of me like this.
He got a big file.
He did. And Mark Garibus have been trying to set me up and lock me up as an extortionist, asking for money. It was not so. My settlement was breached, and my settlement terms is one was called peaceful enjoyment. That means that if I went to your house or I did something, you'd actually pay me for amount.
I get all that.
So I've been going through that since like 2012. So.
All right, and Gonzalez knows about that. You talked to him about that kind of stuff.
I talked to him alone because he's the only one that knows since the beginning. And then my ex-wife, she knows she saw the contract. She has a contract, a picture of the contract.
He named Rick Ross and DJ Khaled.
Where's your house, sir? Unit 177, just on the road from Trump's. You see, I want you to live close to Trump because I know they don't like being close to Trump. You understand what I'm saying? They don't like that.
And there's a black
that's why I went to Trump
organization.
You got a room?
Kind of like.
Okay, all right. How do you get around? You got a car?
Yeah, Jeep.
It
looks like a military Jeep.
Okay. Where's that Jeep right now?
Kind of like the Illuminati.
All right. We'll get back to the Jeep in a minute.
So them parties that they was talking about after midnight.
What do you do for work right now?
Okay, right now I'm self-employed. I work with minerals and gemstones. With an old company called Pegasus Mineral Trading.
Okay.
That I inherited from my father. Previously, I've been. Well, before you go any further, do you have like an actual office?
They gave him herpes.
From home or from home? Okay, so you pretty much like online. Yeah, but it's I get busy 2 seasons a year, like really busy.
And his name is in the book.
Like 15 days nonstop each one, and then it's like just slide. Well, where I'm going with that is you work from home.
Because he said he didn't hear Rico.
What I did is I threw away everything I had because. Before you go, what is everything? What did you? When you say you threw away everything, what's my documents, everything I had, because I know they've been trying to follow me, and I just don't want. I just don't want my personal info getting, you know. I got to know. I think I understand, but I mean, what I'm trying to understand is how can you have a business and not have a computer or
oh no.
I had it.
The moral of the story is don't trust nobody or do anything.
You threw what away? My computers and everything. What you throw away?
This man is coming up in the trial today.
Because they've been spying on you through that. They spy you through your computer, through your iPhone. They spy you through your TV screen, the cameras. Even if they off, they manage to do it.
Yeah, he sound crazy. So I know they thought he was crazy 5 years ago.
Now, when you say you threw them away, you threw them into like a dumpster, or did you just throw them away in your trash?
But his name is in the book.
In my trash can. Okay.
He came up.
Just like one computer? No, everything. My documents, the cell agreement, my computer, everything.
Enterprise.
TV, everything that they have been surveilling me on, I took it off because I wanted them to be in the dark. Okay. Because they've been watching me. So now they kind of
that herpes shit done made him lose his mind. I mean, that's what he sounded like 5 years ago, right?
His presence, correct. And he needs to know that these people are running him into the ground, running the country to the ground. All right, we're going to come back to that. I'm not done with that, but I was trying to help you and I'm trying to understand you, your daily routines, your business, that kind of stuff. But I'm very different than you. I'm very intelligent.
He was a Chippendale dancer.
We all are very intelligent. I can see that, yeah. The thing is, you've been fed the wrong foods and medicines which blind you, okay? Most of the pharmaceutical industry is...
He all over the place.
I agree with you. Right, so, because they threatened to sue me, I sold the properties. Before that, I worked for RG Electronics. I was the top producer of school as the priest, the pope we have right now. I started travel industry management, business and travel industry management, and my people, because my Americans are my people. Okay. I have issues with people, and that's all my people. All right, tell me, all right, let's go back to Thursday night, Friday morning.
He was one of the sex slaves. He called himself a sex slave of pressure that traveled across state lines for sex with Diddy and Cassie.
My point was, take down the flag and put it in the front desk and call the police, shoot the chandelier to tell them to stop getting Saudi Arabia money.
He's had relations with Rick Ross in Cali.
So is Hillary, okay? So he's got to stop taking it.
I see y'all tomorrow. I'll do a little more research for you.
Stand right behind it. So Hillary, he knows who they are.
He knows who they are.
He knows who they are. So does the CIA. Maybe the Secret Service doesn't because you all work for the president, correct?
That's why them feds ran up in there the way they ran up in there.
Other people, but mainly the president, right? Exactly. So the problem is, you're his circle, the CIA, and then on a different circle. Well, let me rephrase